Hey guys, before we start today's episode, I just want to give out a shout out to Allegiance holsters. They are a fantastic product. They make a molded Cadex holster. They have IWB formatted, OWB formatted holsters. You can fit a gun with a light on it. You can fit a gun with an optic on it. You have everything in your holster you want is from Allegiance holsters. They also have first aid kits to fit on your belts. They are made in America. I was recently at the mall the other day, and there was a Nazi jihadist terrorist, to be completely honest. He was coming outside of Bed Bath & Beyond, and I saw...
He was getting some pillows.
Yeah. And he pulled out a gun right next to the Annie Ann's pretzel court and was about to take hostages. A good patron of the mall pulled out a Allegiance holster and took down the perp.
Threw it at him.
Yeah, and that's just my daily life. So
Shit, man.
whether it holds a gun or you use it as a weapon,
Battle-tested.
Battle-tested Allegiance holsters.
AllegianceHolsters.com, and guys, you can use code TNW10 for a 10% discount when you check out. Helps you offset that shipping cost. All right, hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Enlightened Neanderthals podcast, brought to you by Training Northwest. I am the owner of Training Northwest, a Pacific Northwest-based firearms training company. I shouldn't say, I guess it's more than just firearms. We've got first aid and very soon map reading and land navigation. We're located right here in Granite Falls, Washington, at the base of the Cascade Mountains. And let's see, today's episode, Mike, what are we talking about?
This episode, we were dictators. It was a very fun episode. Each one of us gave a couple different answers as to what we thought would be a way to solve the world's problems. So instead of bitching about problems, we're solving them.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to pat us on the back because every single one of our answers was a way to help society. There was no, I'm going to personally enrich myself, or none of it was selfishly minded. Like,
that's because we only did 5 rules instead of 6.
If
If we
we
went
got to
past
6.
that, it's gluttony.
Actually,
I don't know that last one.
I was just saying, maybe number 5. All
I'm a
right.
communist.
Yeah, number 5 might be, it was a little self-serving. All right, enjoy the episode, you guys. And we're live. Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah.
Actually, hang on. So, important administrative note as we start out episode, is this 8 now? Oh, boy.
Shit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
All right.
8?
Fuck it. We'll call it 8. I don't know. It could be wrong. Budweiser went woke on us, so we had to
Switch it
son of
over.
a bitch.
Yeah.
We had just got so into these damn chiladas, and we had to
They're
to
dog
walk
shit
away.
anyway. I never liked them.
I know, they were disgusting. Oh man. So now we've got some Modelo chiladas, which are not the tomato juice ones, which is kind of disappointing.
That's okay.
One of
We'll
those.
V8. We'll fix that right up.
I know. Honestly, from now on, we're just gonna have to put Mike on the hook to
Keep making homemade chiladas.
bring his mixers, or we're gonna have to take turns bringing clamato
Yeah,
juice
that's
so
what
we
we'll
can.
have to do. We'll figure
I think
it out.
homemade chiladas might have been our best episode, though.
Yeah,
Let's
I
be honest. I think it was the fuel
It
for the
could-
fire.
it very
And that was
well
our
could be.
that was our first book report, which
Yeah.
honestly I think the book reports are the future of this podcast.
I've never done a book report on chiladas, and let me tell you, if I was doing that in 8th grade, things would have been a lot
You'd have been a
different.
lot more engaged.
Yeah, much more. Much more.
All right, Kozak, you introduced this one because this was your idea, and I love this idea.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, I just wanted to be a dictator. I wanted to be, Mike Zedong. Yeah.
Mao Zedong?
Mike?
Mike Zedong. Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I wanted to
Yeah.
be a dictator, right?
thought
So
you
this is
were-
Mike Zedong.
I thought you were Polish.
Well, yeah, there is a little Polish in there too. But right now, 100% Chinese. And I don't know. I just thought it's a fun thought experiment. Like, if you had power of the world, if you were the president, if you were dictator, if you could snap your fingers and whatever you wanted to happen would happen, what would it be?
So I wrote some notes on this, but then I realized it's pretty easy to sum it up. 1, I'm turning Jordan into a female. 2, I'm banging her like a screen door.
Oh,
3,
my God.
Creedence Clearwater concert because they're the OGs of Southern rock, not Leonard Skinner. 4, Bush Light for America. 5, we just continue.
continue banging Jordan.
Yeah. It's my
Well, thanks,
eyes.
you guys. That was Enlightened Neanderthals. This has
Tune in
been a
next
fun
time.
episode.
Yeah.
We
Have
do
a good
book reports too.
Yeah. So go over to the Patreon to see the after hours of Jordan.
My transformation.
Yeah.
All right,
No, but
sorry,
that-
I derailed you.
No,
I'm sorry.
that's pretty much just it. Like, we all seem to be well educated, interested.
Double checks at me.
As you just learned.
Seem to be. So yeah, just kind of a thought experiment, and like I think you said earlier, we'll probably have some overlap. Parallel thinking always seems to happen in
Parallel
groups.
thinking, but I wouldn't be surprised if we actually don't have overlap, like if we go totally different directions. Because as soon as you sent this to me, I already had a few things that I've always said, like if I could be king for a day.
Yeah,
And I have like these little bullet items, and I was like, yes, I love this topic.
yeah. That's 100% it. So how do you got? Do we just go
One
through
for
them?
one?
Everyone do one. Yeah.
Give your number one.
We'll go like around like we're doing jujitsu.
Because I'm just
Take
curious to
turns.
see, like, is everybody going to tackle social issues? Is it going to be economics? Is
this the U.S.? We are a dictator of the U.S.
This can be anything. This is U.S. or you're Thanos, and you have the power to snap your fingers, and the world changes. You know what I mean?
In my mind, I was dictator of the U.S., but it doesn't. Like Mike said,
yeah.
whatever your scenario that you came up with your ideas.
World peace is gonna be so fucking easy.
I got all these doves. What am I going to do now?
want to bring free education and world peace.
All right. So yeah, I'll start with mine. And so number one, I wrote make military service mandatory. And I want to expand upon that because I'm the dictator, Mike Zedong. And so not only military like tanks, airplanes, fighting. I guess we'll just start with this being kind of like a U.S. thing, but I would like it to be the military would be a two-part thing. I think there should be a fighting military, and then I think there should be something, call it the People's Army, or that's a good name. We'll go with the People's Army. But
the dictator.
You are a dictator.
I am the dictator.
Fucking
But having
your chest.
not only a military branch that you serve, I think you should have choice, right? So you get drafted when you're either 18, from 18 to 26, right? In those years, you have to serve 4 years. And you can either serve in traditional military fighting, or you can serve in the People's Army. And I think what the People's Army should be is like a citizen's military, almost like a National Guard. Like, they go into poverty-stricken neighborhoods. They help educate. They help build libraries. You can learn general trade things to help the infrastructure of America, civil engineers, education, everything. And I think that having that mandatory creates a huge sense of unity in the United States. I mean, if everyone is instantly part of the team, I mean, team morale is going to be huge.
Yes.
And if not only you're protecting your country and looking out for its best interest, but you're also helping your country,
building from within.
Yeah, like what is it?
So you have skin in the game, and I love that you said that because it actually didn't make my list. And now that as soon as you said it, I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
Because
brilliant. Mine
I've
are
always
stupid
said
now.
that I think there should be. Jordan's number one is he wants to transition.
That and beers replaced into the water mains. Yeah.
No, I've always said I think there should be compulsory service for all Americans right after they graduate high school. And I don't care if it's in the military. They could end up like in a Job Corps type thing. Like, just like they did during the Depression when they actually created the Job Corps to go out and build trails in the forest or pick up trash or do some sort of volunteer work. But the idea is that every young adult now has some skin in the game that is America. Like they have some invested effort and time of their lives that they've put into into the country, right? And
Yeah.
I think that would help a lot with, kind of like what we're seeing right now is like people just don't give a shit. They don't realize what they have. Like, so every generation before us has had to work, like up to World War II and the baby boomer generation, they had to work to build what we have. And since, 50, we've just kind of been riding this wave of good times.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that generation that fought for it in World War II, they're mostly gone, and all that there's really no memory of struggle left.
Yeah.
So for young people, young adults, to have to go through, and that's not really struggle to have to do 2 years of compulsory service. But just like I said, have a little bit of skin in the game so that America is something that's valuable to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say patriot, but, where you're a fan of the U.S., there's this weird transition that we've gone through right now where having an American flag is somehow
Racist.
You're racist, or you're automatically, deemed a right wing nut job, or whatever. And it's sad to me because that's not. I mean, I look at the flag and I go, yeah, I'm happy to be American. This is without doubt the greatest country in the world. Nobody's going to say different to me and get anywhere. Right. I do not care. This is the most free country in the world
That exists right now.
Could
be a lot more free if we play our cards right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's, I think that's where doing those services, that's I think what the reason behind it would be, right? I mean, you're creating a country where people want to have.
I think not only like,
you should have to earn your citizenship a little bit. You shouldn't just be like, hey, you know what? You were born, now you graduated high school, and here's some welfare. Enjoy the rest of your life.
Not only earn your citizenship, but help
now you're cutting into my dictator stuff. Boys.
I think, but not only that, but like, look at what's going on. Like, we had Dave the firefighter on. He's just talking about, Western U.S. cities and just kind of the squalor and everything they're in. And if doing something like this, like, so say you had this mandatory form of service, whether it's military or the People's Army, where you're rebuilding, I hate to say this, making America great again, but it kind of falls in that line. But imagine what you could do, because, you would have all these programs from like, if you're trying to rebuild, you're going to need welders. You're going to need people that know how to lay asphalt and make roads to connect the military and connect transport for all these materials and stuff. And so you're going to have aptitude testing to see where people sit. But then once you do that, you're also going to know where people are lower in aptitude and other skills. You can not only use this to navigate your citizens and people to being more highly efficient, but you can help use it to help the ones that aren't proficient in certain skills. So not only is it like finding jobs, giving purpose, making you involved with your citizen, your country, your state, it's also a way for the state to help out its people. If you want to prosper more, okay, Jordan, well, let's pull up your public record from when you were enlisted. Well, it looks like you're really good at these certain things, but here maybe you're a little lagging. Would you like some free classes? Because you're a citizen, you put in your 4 years. How can we help you? When we were talking about businesses earlier, and Tobin was saying, like, I feel like there's not a framework. I feel like something you could do with this is help provide a framework for your chain is only as strong as your weakest link. This isn't a way to not only fix your country, but help fix the worst parts of your country.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Well, you started out with a banger. I'll tell you that right now. That's very good. But not only is that going to help the people in the future, but it's going to give a framework for, hey, where do we need to focus in a little bit more on schools? Because there's going to be trends. Yeah. It's like, we're lagging behind in these areas, and now we can change curriculum to help guide us for what we need as a country and get us on track where we need to go.
Yeah.
And those, after, it wouldn't take much longer than 5 years to realize there is a trend here.
Yeah.
So that would be huge. And not only that, at that point, you're going to have workers to put in those places and say, hey, we're gonna work on this school and build these schools up. And
Yeah.
That's such a great idea.
And what does that do to colleges too? Like you have to think for like, I mean,
Well,
colleges are colleges, but trade school colleges, I mean, if you were able to have a job corps for people to do mandatory service, I mean, you're going to need expert, once again, welders, people to teach you basic chemistry if you're working with chemicals, you know?
Oh, yeah. My mom is a farmer, and she just had to pass like this gnarly chemistry test to be able to buy fertilizer, to like renew her license to be able to buy bulk fertilizer for the farm.
Yeah.
So even if you think that you're just going to go be a blue collar guy, you still need some base level of education. That's never going to go away, but it would help to sort of demonstrate through experience. You know, people think they don't need algebra until they're out on a job site doing construction. You're like, oh crap.
Got to solve for this
Yeah,
unknown.
you're going
What's X?
deep into the memory banks. Yeah, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even in that, there's continuing education,
Yeah.
right, for trades. And your
Well, and I
licenses
think
and
it also
everything
makes you appreciate too. Like if you spend 2 years building, cutting fire line with a what do they call them, the hot shots crew or whatever, fighting forest fires, you'd be like, you know what? Suddenly, I think I can get through college in 3 years. I'm going to buckle down.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
Or some people who are really into the outdoors and hard work. Like there are people who just like to work hard.
Yeah.
Like, this is my jam. I'm going to figure out how to make a lot of money with, like, think about landscapers who own their own business. They make a fucking killing in my neighborhood working with, a weed eater and a rake and a shovel. So it kind of helped people find a little bit of direction too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like after the military, what did you think? Were you just like, you know what, I love this country?
No, so here's an interesting caveat. So getting out of the military is pretty tough. But I didn't get out of mainstream military. I went from one day I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and the next day I was moving into a rental house to go take classes at Oregon State University. And so it was like I went from team leader in charge of other people's lives and in theater in Afghanistan to within 3 months, I'm on a college campus with a bunch of 19-year-old freshmen who have literally just moved out of their parents' house.
Yeah.
And so there was no common ground, no connection. So there's another great point is that if everybody were coming out of their 2 years, 4 years, however what of civil service, then there would be a lot of common ground for people to connect on.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. I mean, at that point, it's like everybody's wearing the same jersey, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, I think, is like, if, say you're a family and you have one black sheep child, and it's like, what's that going to do to the cohesive bond of the whole family? It's going to affect everyone. As soon as everyone thinks they're part of the team, things just seem to gel better, work better, and mesh better.
That's society's problem right now is people are disconnected and they don't have a tribe or a group of friends or, like Greg gets this all the time from, and messages from listeners to his podcast is that they're like, grown people, I don't have any friends, which is crazy to think about because I've always had some sort of hobby or outside interest, or even at work, I have friends.
Yeah.
And I've never been in a situation where I don't have like a group of friends. And so to me, that is so foreign, but I could see how it would really fuck people up. And it makes me feel bad for them because you have to find, like, if your life is going to your cubicle and then going home and turning on your TV, how could you have friends?
Yeah.
So again, imagine if everybody had a little bit of common experience, something that, like, if you're working in your cubicle and you go to the lunchroom, at least you have something to talk about or to bond over, to share a little bit of common background.
Do you think that's why there's so much, like, gossip over celebrities and stuff? It's like the inside track for people who, like, are lonely.
We don't
it's
have
just like,
anything to do,
we got
so let's
nothing-
talk about
I think
other
people.
people's lives.
I think the internet trolling is it's literally lonely people. That's it. They're looking for a reaction out of someone because they have no human interaction.
Yeah.
So they're saying something. Excuse me. They're saying something ridiculous in a comment section, just hoping to get some fucking interaction.
Yeah.
Which never satisfies because it's online. It's just written, like, who even knows? You don't know what the person looks like. You don't know what they're about. But you're just. It's sort of like this desperate attempt to get, like, please pay attention to me.
Yeah, even if it's negative attention, just any.
Yeah.
It's like, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's a sad thought. that all those would actually be that. Like there was a comment on a YouTube video that I saw, and I think it was a Training Northwest one. And
They're all positive comments, Jordan.
I know. I felt super positive, and I was gonna respond to it, and then I was like,
don't even bother.
yeah, I was like,
It's a waste of energy.
It wasn't that. It was like, I feel so bad for this guy.
Yeah.
At that moment, I was like, man, because at first it was something that it was like, fuck you, and then I thought about it. And I was like, that's a lonely son of a bitch.
Yep.
Hey, dude, door's always open.
Yeah.
Come through. You
Yeah.
know, you need a hug. It's here. Come get it.
You're a better man than me because I'm not
Friday-
giving out hugs, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Friday nights at Electric North, you can come get a free hug.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll be here.
Give you some mother's milk.
Yeah, Jordania.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, dude. That was a very good start. Good Lord. That was
good. Kozak always ambushes us.
Yeah,
And then we have to try to fucking
I have too much free time putting stickers on.
Well-
I'm stuck with myself, you guys.
Yeah.
So I
Talk
wish
about that isolated.
I wish I had friends, to bounce this stuff off to. But I'm putting stickers on, talking to myself.
Oh, God,
Do-do-do.
Yeah.
And the butterflies.
All right, you want to go next? Or you want me to go next?
Shit. Well, now I'm trying to think of which was the best one without, sounding like a jackass. But
I started with my worst one.
yeah. All right. Right on. Killing pedophiles.
Yes.
We're going to be killing pedophiles in no random order here. I think capital punishment, directly lynching motherfuckers in the street. That actually is my big thing, right? So it's like, hopefully there's a little bit of thought before you're diddling kids.
Yeah.
But I think that a parent should get the opportunity to walk into a room with said person and
That's a good one.
whatever they fucking
We're going to put the blinds
deem
down,
necessary.
and whatever happens in the next 10 minutes.
No. You get as much. You get to think about it. Whatever you want to do. You want this guy to rot in jail with no food?
Yeah, ironically,
He's gonna die.
Putting
You're gonna
them into
kill him.
isolation might be worse than killing them, but at the same time, it's a drain on the economy. And just
No, because you're putting him in a room and you're locking the key and you're walking away.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
That's I'm talking extreme, brutal.
Yeah.
No, this is not a human we're dealing with.
Turn it into a
This
reality
is
show. Put a
less,
little camera in the corner.
This is our Hunger Games. We get to, deal with. I was talking to my girlfriend on the way here, and we were talking about that, and that was I think a lot of people could get behind.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So
Everybody who is not a pedophile accepts that it's like the most heinous of crimes.
yeah.
Except for I guess maybe the left now is trying to what do they call it, like minor attracted persons or some shit, like, dude, and honestly, if you are someone who even gets behind that, you should be put in the room too.
Yeah.
Yeah, kid fucking's just like
Kid fucking's bad.
It's that's
Try
one
not to
where
make
it's
it-
like I don't really have any remorse. Even you look at prisons, right, which is supposed to be the worst of the worst, and even the prisons are
Even
like,
there,
let's fuck up the
let's kill 'em.
pedophiles.
Yeah.
And even the code among thieves is like, these guys are scum.
Yeah.
You know?
That's one thing that I would absolutely have. And I mean, it'd be for multiple people, but that's those are the ones that are on top of the list. You're not making it out alive.
Well, and you think about like executions, public executions that used to happen. I mean, that was kind of a part of life, Maybe you get a little older, you're 8 or 9, and your parents are like, come on.
Yeah, they're putting someone in the guillotine tonight.
Yeah, let's go, Billy, or what would
Francois.
Yeah, but that's what it was, and it's like, come see this execution, and the kid would ask what happened, and this person was caught stealing goats, or name your crime. And I mean, it does it instills,
Yeah, make a public spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Well, shit, there's still,
I don't even know that I would want that, right? Because I don't want to dredge more shit through people, like the people who are dealing with this. I want them to decide. It can be internal.
Yeah.
You guys don't. I want complete control to go to the parents.
So like next of kin or whatever family, it's
get to-
like you
get to
just
choose
have power.
However
Yeah.
this goes down, but regardless, death and however you want to go about it. But I don't want my kids to have to see this if I don't want them to, right? I'd like to build a world where that's not the case, and maybe it's like, hey, there's absolutes, and this is an absolute. So maybe it's a lesson for society, but regardless, I think there's no life in prison, drain on society. It's
No.
you get
and
until-
no being
until
released
you-
after 12 years or whatever because you feel, I'm sorry.
Some
okay,
committee
he's
may-
remorseful. Let him
Yeah.
out. Fuck no.
No. Yep. So that's mine. Following fucking Mike's. So Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So back to social issues. My number one is that I think we've even covered this before. I would round up all the drug addicts on the street, and I would put them in a lockdown FEMA-style camp with mandatory Ibogaine treatment. And you have to stay in where you know what I mean. It's compulsory treatment. You're going to get Ibogaine shoved down your throat, and you're going to go through that experience. And then on the backside, there's going to have just sort of almost like your Job Corps type or People's Army idea. There's going to have to be some sort of vocational / civil rehabilitation that goes on there because, again, I don't want people dependent on the state. I want them to become independent. And we are we're fucking drowning in homeless drug addicts out here on the West Coast. I don't know if people who live in the Midwest, or I don't even know if the East Coast is the same as what we're
I
experiencing
think
out
Minneapolis and stuff has a decent drug problem, and
But it's so goddamn cold there in the winter. I don't know that you can really consider Minneapolis like a long-term homeless camp out. Whereas
That's the weird thing, though. They still have homeless. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like everywhere kind of has it, but I mean, look at Chicago.
Here with the
Would you
mild
be a
weather.
homeless guy in Chicago?
No, hell no.
That sounds horrible, but they have a huge homeless situation.
Do they really?
Well, don't they have a bunch of abandoned buildings too, and like a
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
squalor.
yeah.
But I mean, still, when it's
it's cold. It's cold.
5 degrees in an abandoned building, it's still going to be 5 degrees.
But that's kind of what firefighter Dave was talking about. He was like, "Yeah, they'll
start
go into
lighting fires and
start
stuff.
lighting fires and do their thing, and
Yeah.
they're allowed to get away with it until they burn the building down, and then
Yeah.
you know.
But and not to like segue it too much, but all of the like actual medical research coming out that psychedelics have incredibly like positive effects on both mental health and substance addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking insane that it's coming out of places like Johns Hopkins University. It's not like fringe, coming out of like the Western Washington University of Mushrooms or whatever. It's coming out of legit like scientific
Some PhD with the
institutions.
tie-dye on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's being ignored because I assume Big Pharma hasn't figured out a way to sort of like patent it and make it their own. So they don't want it to hit the mainstream until they can figure out how to wrap a patent around it.
Yeah.
But it is effective. It's been shown to be effective over and over and over again, and especially within the veteran community now. Like so many guys are starting to speak out about it, that it is helping them both with substance abuse and with like PTSD, mental issues. That I think it's a no-brainer. Like, what do you have to lose? They're already living on the street, injecting themselves with fentanyl and heroin. Why not put them in a camp and make them take Ibogaine for 48 hours? Because even if it doesn't work, you're right where you started.
Yeah.
And
No loss.
nobody else is doing anything that fucking makes a difference. So why not try it?
Yeah. It's interesting. You say that, and it's like you want to get all these junkie people off the streets, and it's not like you just said, I want the junkies out of here. I'm just going to round the junkies up and they're done. We'll figure it out later. You said you want to put them on Ibogaine. And for people that aren't aware or know what Ibogaine is, I think, isn't it an African in origin?
Oh, God, I think it's actually South American.
Is it South American?
But I could be way off.
Yeah, it's an extreme, and I forget the classification,
It's
like
DMT.
barbiturates
I think
and stuff.
I think it's another like delivery vehicle. Like, okay, I'm talking way outside my expertise here, but I think it's another delivery vehicle for DMT, except that unlike pure DMT, which lasts like, I don't know, minutes, sort of like ayahuasca, where you combine it with another molecule that then turns that into like a 4 to 6 hour experience. I believe Ibogaine is like a 24-hour experience.
Yeah. So it's a very intense psychological self-examining tool. And the fact that you say not just I want to get rid of these people, but that you want them to go through an intense psychoanalysis of their life and where they are. I think that's, admirable that you just don't want to get rid of the problem and sweep it under the carpet. You're like, listen, this problem exists because of emotional and psychological thoughts. And what we need to do is really coach these people and push them to examine their boundaries, their thoughts, their emotions a lot harder. So it's not like, oh, I got you off for 6 months, you're clean. Okay, cool. Well, I go back to my normal life, and now I'm hanging out around shitty people. I have shitty motivation and thoughts, and what do? I go back to using again. You want to actually address the core of the problem and try and get people to examine themselves in an honest way as to why they are the way they are and why they are in this situation.
Yeah, what was the root cause? Because I think that's what the psychedelics help people get to, is what is the root cause? Whereas right now you can go to a psychiatrist and get some psychoactive pills that suppress the symptoms.
That's what it all is suppression.
And that's really what our mental health system right now is built around: suppression of symptoms. Yeah, that's all it is.
Building a dam of emotion.
Exactly.
That's gonna bust at any fucking point in time.
And before you think I'm too nice, if they reoffend a second time after they go through the treatment, you just take them out in the ocean. Because sorry, we got enough people on land.
Yeah. Well, okay, before we run off, I just pulled it up. Ibogaine is a psychedelic substance from the root bark of an African shrub. So you were absolutely right. Yeah.
Dang.
The drug is reported to reduce opioid withdrawal symptoms and reduce cravings, and it is a Schedule I drug in the U.S.
So is marijuana.
So that's the other.
Yeah. So it says, meaning there's no recognized medical use. Obviously, that's not the case.
Doesn't Schedule I also mean it's likely to be habit forming?
Ooh, let me.
I thought Schedule I just meant that there is no medical use for it, so therefore it's just a plague to man, and we're going to put it in this. Schedule II, it could be a plague for man, but hey, like meth, and we'll give you ADD medicine, which it's a derivative of meth.
Exactly.
Ibogaine is only approved for medical use in Brazil, South Africa, and New Zealand. So obviously,
where they have witch doctors for emotions.
So
yeah.
So the other thing that's bullshit about the Schedule I, if I'm right about the Schedule I, meaning it has the ability to become habit forming, having gone through an ayahuasca ceremony, there is no chance you're going to be like, yo, what's up, bros? You guys want to get together tonight and we'll drink some ayahuasca tea? Because it's not like a fun experience. It's a really challenging experience. And when you're done with it, you're like, oh, good God, I don't think I want to do that ever again so long as I live.
Even doing like mushrooms with your buddies, they're like, that was crazy, want to do it again? You're like, I'm good for a month or 6. You're like, that was too intense.
Too much.
Yeah.
I'm so scared of doing that.
Ayahuasca or mushrooms?
Either.
Yeah.
Either.
It's funny. So I've only been to the one ceremony, and looking back on it, I'm very glad I went. But the idea of going again is like, oh shit, because that same veterans group has come back through Portland again in the last couple months, and I was like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not there.
Yeah, big truck. Yeah,
but I mean, that you're feeling, you think what you went through is life.
It's intense. It's
life changing and life lasting.
Definitely life lasting. Yeah, I think life changing too. Like not it's not going to change your life immediately, but it's going to change the way it's going to change your perspective on a lot of things. And I know, like, Tyler and I, we both had this vision of like a fir tree, and our families were up on the top. And at some point we both realized that we were the trunk of the tree, and it's our role in our family to provide like stability and be sort of the steady base. And that has completely reshaped the way I think about parenting my kids. And it takes time. It's not like you go to this ceremony and then boom, you come home on Monday and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm ready to go. Like, this has been, what month is this? This is April. It's been almost a year, and I'm still kind of like reflecting back on those experiences and trying to figure out how to apply them into day in, day out activity or actions.
Yeah.
And again, to go back to the medical research with Johns Hopkins, some of the evidence they have shows that a single dose of psilocybin can be all a person with depression needs. It's a once in a life, and that's probably why Big Pharma is not interested in it. And it strikes me as crazy that people are resistant to it. But if you hand them a bottle of pills that say, take this twice a day, they're like, fuck yeah, just pop them down.
Yeah.
Pop them down. But if you go, hang on, eat this mushroom one time, and you may not need to ever do it again.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck no, bro.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, emotionally working through it.
Yeah. That might be the root of it all, is that pill is just going to make you, it's going to make you feel good now.
Yeah.
The mushroom is going to make you confront everything that's making you feel bad. And it might be a really difficult 6 hours for you. But at the end of it, you kind of go, oh, thank God. I'm so glad I did that. And I don't know how else to explain it to someone who hasn't done it other than, A, I really recommend it, and B, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
But I probably will because it was so beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that you don't do all the time, but it is very beneficial. And I think the best way I think you can describe it, I heard it as like doing intense psychedelics is kind of like you live on a ski slope or a mountain, right? And every day you get up and you climb up that mountain and you ski down it. And throughout the years and years and years, you kind of develop paths and you carve out the slopes and you have your trails and stuff like that. But then when you do an intense psychedelic, it's kind of like a storm comes in and it fills in all those grooves and all those runs with snow, right? So now there's not a trail of life. Normal day to day, this is how I do things. This is me leaving work. This is me dealing with my wife. This is me dealing with my family. But then you do those moments of medicine, and it's like all those lines, all those gaps, all those holes get filled in with snow. Now, still daily, you've got to get from the top of that mountain down to the bottom. But now you're kind of picking out new paths and carving, and you're not so adherent to your old trails or your old thinking. It's kind of just like a reset in a way.
Yeah, the way our nervous systems work is through actions and experiences. We build these neural pathways in our brain and throughout our nerves in our body. And again, psilocybin has been shown to increase neuroplasticity, which is your ability to change that pathway. So it's just like Mike's saying. It's like you have all these tracked out pathways in your body that for some of us, or people who have addiction or mental health issues or whatever, these tracks are leading them in all the wrong places. So it's like a blanket of fresh snow, and now you get to start laying new tracks through that fresh snow, and you can be conscious of it and take it in a direction that you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good reset.
Yeah. That kind of is one of my dictators things.
Go for it.
It's what you said, the homeless, trying to deal with the homeless and kind of getting that squared away.
What was yours? Just a battle axe and a...
Yeah, just a machete. Just a machete.
Trebuchet.
No, I mean, because I don't want there to be...
Fling them out into the sound.
Yeah. It's like the bird launcher.
Okay, hang on. All right, we need a massive air cannon.
A big old T-shirt cannon and some fucking compressed air. Good luck. Yeah, like they have at the circus, you know.
Killer whales out in the sound.
Yeah.
And then we fire.
Feed them.
We got trebuchets.
We gotta make sure these guys are clean, though. We can't be feeding them fucking.
You got a junkie
I was just
orca.
gonna say our killer whales will be addicted to meth because we'll be firing meth addicts out into the sound.
We can't be doing that. No.
Oh shit! This is a great idea, guys. This is why we do this stuff.
I think basically the same thing. I want to be able to provide treatment for those people and have, a way to fund that. But because I don't think you should be. If you want to do drugs, do drugs. I think if you end up on the street and that is your lifestyle, that is where you're being rounded up.
Yeah.
And that's probably more or less what you were saying. Like if I can walk down the street,
if you're holding down a job and you like to get fucked up on Saturday night, then
yeah,
all right.
Yep. If you can function, if you can be a functioning member of society.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't have the ibogaine treatment. That's I wanted help. I didn't know about the ibogaine stuff, so that's I guess the way they'd work
think
out.
It sounds like it's legit. It just, like I said, it can't be controlled by big pharma, so it has not made it into the American system. But a ton of veterans are going down to Mexico for ibogaine treatment, both for PTSD and for substance abuse issues.
Mm-hmm.
And
They're going to Mexico
yes,
for that?
because it's legal there.
It's legal, yeah.
So they have to travel there to go to these clinics.
Well, it's not even just ibogaine. It's like you're saying,
Cocaine.
pharmacy, yeah, strippers.
Yeah.
Doctor said.
Donkey shows. They go to Mexico for a lot of crazy shit.
But it's not only ibogaine. I mean, it's stuff like MDMA, ayahuasca, even
cells.
just mushroom treatments, just all these psychedelics or psychoactive pharmacological.
I think molecularly, MDMA and DMT are very similar. And DMT is what comes out of ayahuasca and I believe ibogaine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So ayahuasca, I know. Ayahuasca is basically a prolonged DMT experience. Because there's something. It's one of I think there's like 7 plants that go into the tea, but one of them is an inhibitor.
MAO inhibitors.
There you go.
Yep.
That keeps your body from processing the DMT out quickly,
Mm-hmm.
whereas straight DMT is just gone, within minutes.
Your body naturally dissolves it or uses it. I mean, it's produced in lungs, pituitary, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And anything green has it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that the third eye, right? Like
Your pituitary
yeah,
gland.
So with all that,
Oh,
and it's getting.
I thought that was the pineal gland. What's the
Or pineal. Yeah, I'm sorry, pituitary. I'm thinking puberty.
Yeah, it's like, hey,
Finally, I'm going to get chest hair, boys.
are we gonna fucking?
We're dropping our Anheuser-Busch sponsorship. So if anybody has a connection with Rogaine, Mike and I need some chest hair.
I could use it all over my body. I'm like a Ken doll, dude. I am smooth.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, not since I was 12. Dude,
He even has the genetic similarity to Ken doll. Shit.
That's rough.
All right, Mike, what's your number 2?
Let's see what I got here. Term limits for politics or politicians or a lottery-based drive. So, I mean, it's kind of just that.
You could fix almost all our goddamn political problems with term limits and
Yes.
just by kicking lobbyists out of Washington, D.C.
I think George Washington said it the best: from the plow to the suit to the plow.
Yes.
And I think that's 100% it. And the only reason I feel you can allow corruption into an institute is having it being an old institute, right? With old rules.
Old relationships and old camaraderies, too.
Just good old boys, clubs, factions, stuff like that that can overtake a system. So I think there should be a term limit on everything, whether it's president, governor, senator.
Every elected position.
Or my counter to that would also be that it's a lottery-based system. So like jury duty, everyone in the United States.
You just got tapped. You have to go be the governor for 8 months.
Boom. Yes, exactly.
There's a few people I know who I would not be happy if they were tapped to be governor.
See, but that's something I think about, though. So it's like, so how do you stop it from being a complete idiot getting into the governor's office? Is this something I parlay off of my first one where there's mandatory service, where we get to
100%.
think about and look at what your scores are?
Identify people with leadership ability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then if you create it so it's mandatory, well, Bill's got to be a governor, and now Tim, though, he's got to go work at, I don't know, he's got to be a park ranger, or he's got to be elected to the city council for this many months. But it just keeps a way of keeping corruption out of the system because you can't allow corruption. If it's a lottery and it's based off of that, you can't predict who's going to be drawn to what. You
Or
can't
maybe you have to get
influence them.
You have to get a minimum number of votes to be entered into the lottery.
Yeah, I think
And
that's probably
you end up with
know.
3 candidates in the drawing.
Or
who have attained a
you
certain.
have a governor of 3. You have a group,
Like a council.
a
But I mean,
council.
isn't
Yeah.
that what the
The
state
high
senate,
council,
the
like-
state house is for?
Yeah,
It's kind of the
yeah,
same thing,
2.
except they're career politicians as well.
Yeah.
Yes, once again. So it's like, and I don't know the right ideas, but these are, and everything kind of has a duality that I wrote. You know, it's more than just one thing. So that's why it's like, all right, how do we get corruption out of politics? Is it term limits or is it
a machete.
yeah, trebuchet?
Yeah, that's right. Put them in the t-shirt cannon. We're gonna feed the orcas.
Or is it just yeah?
Oh, that's a T-shirt. Feed the
Jay Inslee, first up.
Yeah.
But I think that if you could get lobbyists out of the system as well, because why do these people want to become career politicians? And it's because they become filthy rich.
Yes.
Their annual salary is like $200,000 a year, and they end up worth, $400 million within 8 years.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, what the fuck? How is that possible?
Yeah.
And it's because of all the kickback, under the table money that's being slid to them.
Kickback, insider trading.
Yeah.
If you allow this to happen,
What up, Nancy?
We'll put 3 new businesses in your county or district
Exactly.
instead of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just those 2 things, I think, could fix it all, like almost immediately, because now you can enrich. If you only have 8 years and then your 2 terms are up and your lobbyists just flat out aren't allowed to, I think lobbying has only been legal since the mid 90s. I was trying to look it up and I couldn't find anything, but prior to that, it would have just been called bribery. I mean, lobbying is bribery.
Yeah.
So if we went back to, if you get caught taking a bribe as a public official, then now it's a felony.
Yeah.
Now you have to really think about how much do I want that money to pass this bill or to slide somebody, fucking. What were we talking about? Washington State auctioning off the greenhouse gas credits.
Oh, yeah, carbon credits.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean, like, don't tell me for 2 seconds they're not getting a little kickback on that $300 million worth of carbon credits they just sold.
Yeah, I just think corruption is just such a big part. And like our founding fathers, it seemed like they had so many.
They accepted the fact that it was a
Yeah,
thing.
right. It's just like a natural law, like gravity or, evolution or just certain things they knew. They're like, listen, man.
People are corruptible.
We are leaving a fucking king
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is lost on today's society.
Yeah.
And if you say politicians are corrupt,
Yeah.
I think most people that don't have their head in their ass are going, yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
But if you say that to other people, they're like, no way, man.
But not only they are corrupt, like they have to become corrupt. Like if you have a game, right? If we're playing blackjack or we're playing one of these games, just like a casino, well, if you're playing a game, then there has to be a way to follow the rules, and then there has to be a way to fudge the rules. Because as soon as rules are established, well, now there's a guideline of what I'm supposed to do. Well, I guarantee you there's a way to figure out how to go around what I'm supposed to do, but still win. I mean, what sport hasn't had it? Refs in football, refs in basketball, fighters in boxing. Yeah. I mean, if the rules are given, then you know the format to cheat.
But it's always because there's money involved. If you get money out of politics somehow,
yeah,
or like just if you could get money out of boxing, there'd be no cheating in boxing because
no one would care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like an old fashioned poker game, if when you're caught cheating, we just pulled out a Derringer and shot you in the chest.
Jordan's idea, yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Well,
be a
yeah.
pretty effective
Man.
way to deal with it.
Yeah. That trebuchet is really going to come
I was just gonna say, we'll feed some fucking killer whales.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I got this flatbed hauling a trebuchet to this poker game. I mean, it is a lot of equipment to set up.
Marine biologists will be studying the pod of orca whales out in the Puget Sound.
Why are they growing?
Yeah, human eating fucking killer whales.
Have to tie a fish to them just
gonna need
for a first little bit until they get used to it.
Oh, Free Willy.
They won't eat salmon anymore. They only eat crackheads and politicians.
fucking cheaters.
Oh man. All right. So my second one goes a little bit, and actually we're seeing quite a bit of overlap.
There's parallels. I told you there would be.
With your People's Army is, I would immediately, I would issue an executive order to begin research and development on the latest, I guess, design for nuclear power plants.
100%.
Because we are struggling for energy right now, and modern nuclear power plants are safe, are effective. All of the power plants that we're having issues with are the ones that we built in a hurry in World War II for the sake of making weapons, like, oh God, I'm brain farting.
Hanford?
Yeah, Hanford is leaking, but it was built quickly to make Fat Man and Little Boy.
Enriched plutonium.
Yeah, so it was a rush job. The modern plants, they're not rush jobs, they're built correctly, and we have so much landmass in the United States that we can put it away from fault lines, away from coastlines, and we need to we just need all this energy. And the second thing that I would do to go along with that is start building desalination plants on both, probably not the Gulf of Mexico because the hurricanes that come through there, but at least on the coast of California, because California, all you hear is drought, 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 global warming, global warming, global warming, drought, global warming, drought. So fucking build an atomic power plant and then some desalination plants. And we build pipelines all over the country for oil. Build pipelines for fresh water. Start sending that shit into New Mexico and Arizona and all throughout California to support farming, agriculture. And then you can bring a lot of our own like most of our produce comes from Mexico right now. So we could have all of our produce coming out of the American Southwest. And that also creates infrastructure jobs, which are skilled trade, family wage jobs. So now you have a force of people going to work across the country, building power, and it's not just blue collar. It's engineers and physicists and project management and project executives. So it's the whole gamut of employment, and all at like family wage or above, and it creates a bunch of new infrastructure that benefits all the people here.
Yeah.
Rather than creating, we start a new
the
business.
Farmers and the all the way down.
Yeah, instead of hearing about how California almond farmers are draining the aqueducts, no, we've got there's more water than we know what to do with on planet Earth. It just has salt in it. So let's build, let's make desalination plants, take the salt out of it, because a nuclear power plant and the modern nuclear power plants, a power plant that I think would run the East Coast, they say, in 50 years, fills a 55-gallon barrel of waste. That's it.
Yeah.
It's almost nothing.
I think...
So you got all the green energy dipshits who are like, oh, we can't, no nukes.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, I think you nailed it with modern power plants. I think there's from like 3 Mile, and even, Fukushima was a little newer, but it was still an older style design.
It was also right
and
on
they
the coast.
Built it on a fault line, in Japan and stuff. But all
that
this
shit in Oklahoma. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But all this stuff we're going through now is, we're dealing with energy wars.
Yes.
That's kind of, so much of this stuff is due to energy wars. And if you look at what current nuclear energy provides and the risk that it has, it's a whole different, they used to just stick rods in water.
Yeah.
And they don't do that anymore for the new ones. And then on that same kind of trajectory, I think physics has been dead for the last 80 years.
Not since the Manhattan Project has there been really...
There's not been a new discovery. We have the Large Hadron Collider, and what are we doing? We're proving theories correct that we thought.
That came from, like, the 1950s and
pre-Einsteinian stuff. Yeah. So it's like, to me, the physics community is completely in shambles, and I think... Personally, and I'm not a physicist here. Let's get that out there. I'm
all this time we've been talking to you. You've been fudging your credentials.
I just play one on TV. Yeah. So, but I think, the physics world has been completely in shambles. We haven't had a major breakthrough, and I think you see more people going down the eyes of like string theory or wave functions with what are the computers they want to build? Quantum computing. And I don't think it's right. I think Einstein had it right, saying there's a universal theory of everything. And we can't pull gravity into that. We've pulled electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, but we can't get gravity, space-time gravity, to fit that theory. And I think there needs to be more of a push into the scientific community and breaking down a lot of these walls. I think nuclear is a great idea. I think it's much cleaner than it's been in the past, and we learn from our mistakes. I mean, just like when
just R&Ding, if you know, the research and development for the plant that you want to build now leads to the young engineer. Yeah, I was just going to say the young engineer who has the next innovative idea that comes to fruition 50 years down the road.
Yes.
So it's a snowball that you want to start rolling down the hill, and I always get the fission and fusion backwards, but is fission
fuse? You're putting two things together. Fission.
Okay, so
like
fission,
on your asshole, you have a fissure, right? It's tearing stuff apart.
Did I tell you about that?
No. Is that real? Are we fusing or fission, boys?
So fission is what we use right now in nuclear plants, and fusion is the one they're trying to, like, they haven't been able to get the plasma ball stable to actually sustain the reaction for longer than like a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
But if we were R&Ding new fission plants, almost certainly that will lead to developments in fusion.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So when you start putting money into these things, instead of just pumping money into Lockheed Martin for more cruise missiles, then that's, and here's kind of my thought with, because if you go against the military industrial complex, you're going to get taken out like JFK did.
Yeah.
So really all you need to do is sit down with all these, you know, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, L3, and explain to them, hey, fellas, the money is going to go away from smart bombs and it's going into infrastructure. Yeah. So at your heart, a defense company is an engineering company. That's what they're engineering new weapons. So now guess what? Tomorrow you're engineering new infrastructure.
Yeah.
Sharpen your pencils.
Well, like didn't just NASA, going to space in the 60s and stuff, the 50s and the 60s. I mean, just the invention of NASA.
That was filmed in Hollywood.
Yeah. But I mean,
shout out Tyler.
Didn't that technology bring so many more other technologies like transistors, television, cathodes, rays? Yeah, I mean, all of the stuff that we use today and kind of take for granted, so much of it was based off of the exact NASA missions of the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have in your dictatorship, I'm going to focus more on these science and technologies. Not only are you going to get better at the one you're investigating, but you're going to get all these other pop-ups, which are industry, which are manufacturing. Which
you're going to allow that?
Yeah. All of our consumer products came out of military R&D.
Yeah, 100%. I like it.
Except for possibly the chilada.
No, that absolutely was military.
Do you think so?
I thought it was ayahuasca, ibogaine, and then God gave us chilada on like the fourth day, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Golly.
Shit.
Is it?
No, you're still number two.
Okay.
I think it's your number two.
You guys came up with more than two.
No.
All right, talk slow.
Here we go. We got 56 minutes in. I'll buy us some time. It kind of overlaps with some of your guys' stuff, but getting big pharma out of the government.
Yes.
In all facets.
Yes.
I think it's ridiculous, the prices that we're paying for life-saving medicines that are, insulin's ridiculous, right? So all that kind of stuff.
Only because they have a control on the market, right? When you have almost, it's not quite a monopoly, but how many is it? 3 companies? Probably.
It's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, that's one reason. But like the amount of lobbyists throwing money at politicians that are pharmaceutical companies, it's like,
oh yeah,
we gotta get rid of that, and that would be that'd be one that I would. So nobody's becoming a millionaire off of being a politician.
Yeah.
I think that's a great one. Not only eliminating corruption, like you said, I mean, look how much money. I mean, geez, watch the fucking news. Brought to you by Pfizer. Yeah. Brought to you by Pfizer.
The Super Bowl brought
right?
to you by
And that's
Pfizer.
just the TV. That's not the politicians that are making your laws. Yeah. That's just TV showing you things. Now you get going to more and more millions of dollars to political figures that get to figure out your days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, one, I think that's a great idea. But two, it's like, let's not forget that these companies exist because they want a profit. It's not like they're like, hey, man, diabetes sucks.
Yeah.
And we invented this drug, and we're, because we're altruistic and we have good hearts, we're going to give it out for free. And it's like, no, they're just a company that's driven off a profit. They so happen to work in drugs that do save our lives, but at no point does that give them, like, a higher title, a crest. They are not beholden to be better than anyone else. They are just a normal business. And as soon as you think a business is magical, I mean, you've lost track. You've lost perception with reality.
I feel like in this kind of I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit, but I feel like there's a certain level like that somebody really doesn't need any more money. Yeah. And I don't want to put a cap on somebody's ability to make money, but there's a point where you're set.
Your life's not going to get any
Let's
better.
not, and you don't have to worry about the next 5 generations.
Yeah.
So let's stop that,
Yeah.
And I'm talking to both sides of my mouth because I don't want government to interfere with these things, but I see the need for it in some cases.
When what is it? 1% of the world's population has 97% of its wealth, or something like that.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, I also had this thought about like what is wealth, and I was looking at a picture of Bill Gates, and I was like, could you? I wouldn't trade my life. Would you? Or
not my body.
It's not. I was just going to say it was the body, and I looked at him, and I was like, do you think it feels good to be inside that body?
Hell no.
And I think about how much I hurt. Yeah. It cannot feel good to be inside his body.
Well, that guy's never done a push-up. He doesn't.
Also, do you think he has close friends? Do you think he
on or off Epstein Island?
Well,
those if his close friends are on Epstein Island, he paid for them. You know what I mean? Like
that baby.
Do you think he sits down and has actual conversations with a couple of buddies?
He's not doing a podcast like this.
So what?
Drinking chiladas? Fuck no.
Exactly.
He ain't doing that.
Yeah.
But
so like I said,
how wealthy is he? He's got a shitload of money in the bank. He can't possibly feel good. He probably gets winded walking up a flight of stairs, and he probably doesn't have close friends. So how wealthy is he?
Yeah.
Well, what's that, the more money, more problems kind of situation? I mean, he's going to have people who want to be around him. There's people who are trying to suck at the teat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's going to have those people around him constantly that are like, hey, buddy.
Yeah, so now you have to, everybody in your life is a potential leech.
Yeah. And that would be miserable.
Yeah.
But I don't know the correct answer, and I haven't thought about it enough to really come up with a solution to that. But I just know that there's a problem when companies are making money and making law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point.
Oh yeah. At this point, the corporations are writing the laws.
Yeah, and that's where I have an issue, where it's less of the betterment of humanity and more of, no, we're going to make a buck, and we're going to change the law to do that. Yeah. And but I mean, I've seen it done on local level politics, and I'm like, that's genius, and I kind of commend it. But at the same time, it's like, that guy's kind of an ass.
Yeah.
There's an area around here where a guy who works for a building company. He gets on the committee that is overseeing whatever legalities that are in that area for building code. And he changes it from 1-story to 5-story. Nobody knows that he's with this building company. He gets, he gets elected in, changes the zoning, and then as soon as that changes, he goes back to his building company, gets the contract, and they built out the whole area.
Damn.
And made a shitload of money.
But is that a case of don't hate the player, hate the game?
It is, and that's
someone who's gone like,
he got after
how do
it
I
and
make
thought
money in
outside of the
construction?
box.
I'm not allowed to build this here.
Yeah.
How do I get it to where I can?
Yeah.
You
And
know what I mean? So it's like ingenuity working inside the system.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Part of me is like, this fucking guy.
Yeah,
Like,
it's double-edged.
But he got after it and did what he needed to do. So like I don't hate on him for it, but it's like there's situations like that at huge levels. That's not affecting the town that it was in. Like there are situations like that affect everybody in the country.
Yeah.
For the worse.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? At that point.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, sorry. That's yeah. I ain't got a.
Should we call a pee break here?
Yeah, we can take a quick pee break.
We'll be back.
All right.
And we're back. Wait, what?
Blake.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
All right. Kozak's looking at his list. What you got?
Number 3 here. All right, so this is one, like I said, it's kind of like I feel a couple different ways. This is in the same theme here, but I could go either way on it. These are just kind of altruistic ideas, I guess. And it has to deal with the idea of the president and what his role is. And I think that the president should be the president has one job, and either that new job is to fight corruption. I don't want our president to be our leader and be like, hey guys, I'm going to show you the way, and we're going to invest in this, and we're going to do that, and go with this company and pair with this country. I want the president to be like a watchdog, to be like, hey, these motherfuckers over in the DOJ are trying to pull one over you. Or like this oil deal with Saudi Arabia is completely out of control.
I mean, isn't that kind of what the executive officer is supposed to do?
Yes, that's the thing, right? So that's what I mean. Like, the president should truly be a watchdog. You elect him to be like Dog the Bounty Hunter, the big bad law. We got the dog.
Are we going dog for president?
Yeah,
Are we starting that campaign?
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I think either the president, and this whole thing just kind of has to deal with what I think the president should do. So either the president is set as like our country's tough guy, to really give checks as to what's happening, to combine an executive figure and like almost a journalist together. I think the president should be, or we keep the president in traditional roles that he's currently in, but anyone can be elected. It's by popular vote. So you get your mail-in ballot, or you go to the ballot box, and enough people write Elon Musk. Sorry, Elon. You might not want to do this, but this is what the people want of you, and this is what you need to do. So the idea of what a president is...
The president then becomes a compulsory position?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because then that's another way. I mean, look at who's running for president. Well,
yeah,
we got to see what, the Democratic Party puts out as their contender, or the Republican Party. It's like,
neither one of them the people really want. So
no, they all fucking suck. I mean, yeah.
It'd be nice if they did that, and it was like, you don't get to see this person, hear this person, or know what
It's like that show Love is Blind, but with your president.
Yeah, and or know what party they're affiliated with, right?
Exactly.
And everybody just has to shut up and listen. And like you deal with the radio.
Oh yeah, getting rid of political parties would be a great step forward, so that it's not, you can't just toe party lines, and everybody already knows before they even get on stage what they're going to say, because whether they're Democrat or Republican, they're just going to go with the party position. Yeah, and you have no idea if they even have thoughts of their own, what they are. It would be really refreshing to have candidates who don't have party backing. So they actually have to get up there and talk about what's in their own brain.
Yes, new, fresh, real ideas, not, like you said, towing a party line.
Yeah.
Abortion's bad. I think this is bad.
Yeah.
No, give me a fucking new idea and a reason why it's compelling.
The reason nobody pays much attention to the debates anymore is because you already know how they're going to answer the questions.
Well, it's not a debate.
You got to answer in 30 seconds. You get to choose 30 seconds.
Well, and you know what? That's a great point, is that the debates should become more long-form conversations
like this.
You got to go on Rogan. You want to run for president?
Yeah.
You got to get through 3 hours on Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, moderator and moderator. And have them have discussions with these people, and you don't get to know. You get to know them by their name.
Yeah.
And nothing more.
Yeah.
Or even if you did have a debate, give me an argument with some teeth.
Yeah.
Remember when we saw Biden and Trump, and you were like, "This is gonna be it. Yeah. You know, this is gonna be awesome." And everything everything that was said was so just bland. Yeah. It's like, give me real substance here.
Yeah.
Give me teeth. Be vicious.
Well, because like Jordan said, they only give them 30 seconds to answer, so they just.
But even if you gave me 30 seconds and I was heart-filled and honest, even if I dropped an F-bomb in there, but it's like, dude, he really emphasized. You know what I mean? Yeah. Give me some conviction. Give me something to really believe in. But it's like, well, Antifa's bad and jobs are tough, and
we're gonna make more jobs.
Yeah, it's just bullshit. The same bullshit the guy before him said that previous 4 years ago, he's saying. And the guy before him. Yeah. Give me some real substance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think doing that would definitely change the game.
Yeah. Oh, I thought of my third one. I was having a brain fart earlier. I would remove all public unions. So teachers, city workers, and education is the one that I'm fiery hot with hotness about.
Yeah.
But any public employee should not be allowed to be unionized, because that forces we as taxpayers have not chosen to hire union labor. Yeah. Whereas like Jordan and I work for a union construction company, but our customers have the ability to choose union or non-union contractors. If they're unhappy with the contractor we work for, they just don't hire us again. So we have that competition that forces us to actually be good at our jobs. Mm-hmm. Whereas you look at like any public sector union has no competition. And that's again, I think one of the ways we get mired down into the bureaucracy is public employees are impossible to get rid of. You cannot fire a government employee without years and years and years of documentation. And then the promotion also, like, kind of part of that problem is that the people who rise into, I'm making air quotes, leadership positions in the public sector usually aren't leaders. They're just people who figure out how to kind of work the system to their benefit. They file their reports. They make fewer headaches for their supervisor, and it's like, you know what? Let's promote this guy because he doesn't cause any problems for me.
Yeah,
and it's just this fucked up system that promotes mediocrity. Yeah, and it's almost like, I mean, anybody who's gone to the DMV to renew their driver's license, you're experiencing the woes of a public sector union and the lack of competition that they have.
Yeah. Well, and so to feel this out, I'll push back a little just because due to anyone that's taken U.S. history, the biggest unions in the United States when unions first started to form were miners and railroad workers, right? And it seemed like a lot of those unions started due to safety concerns.
Well, it was shitty work conditions.
Right? And so, exactly. So, but I don't feel like what the union represents today. I mean, you got OSHA, WISHA, you got every health thing.
The original unions were formed to combat like what was basically human rights violations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like what started as something good, like the union, human rights, and taking care of workers and safe working conditions, has really gotten taken over by politics. I mean, just for example, take the teachers union and COVID. You know, a lot of states were like, hey, let's get kids back in school. But the teachers unions are the thing that said, hey, no, we're not going back. So it's like something that started as a safety apparatus has now become an amalgamation of power that really is gone way beyond what it started as.
Yes, and it used to be that school was for kids, about kids, and the kids were the focus of it. And it kind of seems the last 10 years like it's no longer about the kids, it's about the teachers. And it's all about their working conditions and their schedule, and they don't want to come back to work because they don't like. Imagine this: you're dedicating your life to the youth of the country because you believe in education, but you're not willing to come back to school, even though you know it's fucking destroying kids to not be able to go to school.
Yeah.
So fuck you all.
Wasn't good leadership example.
It's it's not just their leadership, it's the actual teachers in the classroom who were resisting going back, which shows you that their priority isn't the kids, it's them.
Yeah. Well, I remember something you said too, kind of during like, I don't know if we're talking on a podcast or something, but you're kind of saying like your favorite type of teacher back in the day was like maybe someone that had been through Vietnam. They floated around a few jobs.
I was contrasting my kids' teachers now to my favorite teachers when I was a kid. And so they're nice people who my children's teacher, actually I should say, prior to COVID, when my kids were going to public school, they were nice women, but they were overweight, single cat ladies who their life experience
their
was
hair had some sort of a pastel color in it.
Yeah. Well, no, because they weren't that edgy.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with being like a single cat lady, but your ability to deal with young rowdy boys when that's your life is pretty limited. And then their life experience was grow up in Mill Creek, go to WSU, get a teaching certificate, come back to Mill Creek, teach. Whereas I had like a handful of incredible teachers in high school who were pretty rough around the edge men.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like the kind of guys who would drag you out in the parking lot and be like, listen, you talk to me like that again.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you out here and slap the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And they had like got drafted, went to Vietnam, come home, kicked around, worked in a few auto shops, got a welding job, decided it was bullshit, went to college, and then thought, you know what, maybe I could make a difference. Got a teaching certificate. And didn't start teaching high school till they were like 45.
Yeah.
And they were, you know what I mean, kind of mean, but at the same time also like they got it. Like exactly. Yeah. They were part buddy, part enforcer. Yeah. And those were the teachers that you ended up having a ton of respect for and that actually made a difference in your life. And granted, not everybody can be that person, but I remember going to one of these Christmas play things, you know, where you got the whole school there and just looking at the faculty when at the end, they call the faculty up. I was like, there's not a single person on that stage right now that's equipped to deal with a rowdy ass 10-year-old boy.
Yeah. Not only the 10-year-old boy, but I mean, so much of what seems to be happening or spoken upon in schools is diversity.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no diversity in that. Like you said, it's
no
a bunch of white chicks that went to WSU and now they're going to come tell you about life. The only way you get
diversity is by some dude saying he's a chick. You're literally manufacturing diversity because it doesn't fucking exist in our community.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember my senior year, 9/11 happened. My senior year, and one of our teachers was from Pakistan, and he just had a real as shit conversation to us that day of why there is never going to be peace in the Middle East. It wasn't like, oh, we're working to be better. He's like, listen, man, the world's fucked up, and I'm going to explain to you from growing up in the Middle East why it's that way. And it's like, holy shit, way more respect for someone that's honest or trying to, you know. And that's what it is. It's a diversity of vantage points. It's a diversity of viewpoints through life experience. And
that's the key that it gets lost, because so many people don't value diversity in viewpoints.
Yeah.
Right? It's diversity in color, it's diversity in appearance.
Yeah, you're right. You're not allowed to have diversity in opinion, though.
No.
Yeah.
No, and
that's a strong point, right?
Yeah,
there.
that's part of that was going to be one of my dictator things, is the indoctrination in so many schools. It feels like, there are left-leaning ideologies riddled in education at every level.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's the kind of people that are going into the career, because I know there's some teachers I had that are pretty right-leaning, and I hate even just calling it right or left, but like that's the fact of the matter, and everybody knows what the fuck I'm talking about when I say left-leaning teachers versus right-leaning teachers, or just those ideologies in schools, and they're just pounded down everybody's throat, and you're taught that at the age that we were talking about, Peleliu, where kids are at their most vulnerable to
most impressionable.
Impressionables.
Yeah.
Or impressionable. It's
Yeah.
like uncrustables over here. Impressionable. And that's making a huge difference. So if we could, deal with that, it'd be nice, because it's diversity in appearance, not opinion.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's
right.
killing me.
Yeah, I remember in school a buddy did a book report on, what was Hitler's book? Mein Kampf. And it's like, do you think someone could do that today?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but it was very honest, and it wasn't like he's trying to pick people out, or
5 stars. Do recommend. This fucking kid. Yeah, he was like, look.
Oh, shit.
But that's what you want. You want diversity of thoughts and opinion and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also you want the fact of the matter is, we are not allowed to. We do not have the right to not be offended.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks they have the right to not be offended. And it is tearing our society apart right now.
I mean, the right to be it. Wait.
You do not have the right to not be, or to be offended. How I'm saying that backwards?
It's like you have to be enraged at everything.
No, what I'm saying is, you don't have the right for my opinion to matter. Whatever I say, I can say.
Yeah.
Like, if you get frustrated by it,
Yeah. Walk
Good.
away. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But right now it's like, oh, he can't say that. Hush him.
Yeah.
Hush him.
Well, that's cancel culture and this whole thing. If you're saying speech we don't find congruent to the ideology or beliefs we're doing, so it's
better way
easier
of saying shit.
to banish you or to silence you than for us to have a real debate and express each other's opinions and thoughts and try and understand each other better.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had really good conversations with coworkers, and that's I mean, Tobin said that the other day, I think, and it was like, a job site is one of the last places in the workforce you can go and have an actual conversation with somebody that's like somebody who doesn't agree with me at all, and we can have that conversation and be right front forth with our thoughts, and be respectful.
Yeah.
But have those thoughts and opinions and say, well, this is what I think about this. And, well, have you thought about it like this? It's like, we're working towards something, so we have a goal together that we're already on the same team.
Yeah.
So we have that going for us, and then we can also, like, use that as a point of, like, hey, we're working towards something together. We're on the same team. It's okay. But I also have these thoughts. What are your thoughts on these?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to have that.
Yeah, because that conversation, especially if you're, like, working in the same kind of tooled up together.
Yeah, you're in the
that
same room.
conversation will flex back and forth from like, hey, what measurement do you have on that? Send it over. Okay, I got it. Blah,
There's
blah, blah.
cooperation.
And then you'll flex back and forth from work specific tasks to the conversation that you're having on the side. So the work specific conversation is collaboration 100% of the time, and that side conversation may be agreement or maybe disagreement, but it remains sort of civil and respectful because the primary purpose that you're in there for is collaboration.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
No, that's a great way to put it. But
you're welcome.
Thank you. These guys just helping me out. I must sound like an idiot. I'm the Neanderthal.
No.
We're just here wishing we could grow chest hair.
Yeah, look at me. We all have different talents.
Got 2 Ken dolls sitting next to you, brother.
Shit.
But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's that?
That was my number 3. Do we all do 3?
My number 3 was the public unions.
Public Union, and yours?
And I also, like, I can expand on that, too. Like, if you look at how, oh, man, like the last 4 or 5 years, the narrative has sort of successfully turned America against the police. It's because the union protects bad officers.
Yes.
So if you were able to get those officers out before you had some of these incidents, like,
Yeah.
you know, the bad shoots or, you know, some of these infamous incidents that end up on YouTube or Instagram or whatever,
Yeah.
a lot of those officers should have been eliminated years before, but they're protected by the officers union.
Yeah.
This is not a new or fresh idea in our circle, but it obviously needs to be said. One of the dictatorship ideas I would have would be to make sure all police officers are trained and capable of physically capable of pulling a 250 guy or 250 pound guy off of somebody who's getting in a fight or just capable.
And police officers and teachers, it should be a higher paying position so that it attracts a higher quality individual.
Yes.
And I think, take some of the trillions and trillions of dollars we've spent fighting the war on terror or donating to Ukraine, and you could easily rate, outside of the Puget Sound, a police officer makes like $40,000 a year to deal with society's shit. Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
it's not enough
it's
to
unbelievable. So
Yeah.
if you raise the pay and made it more on par with, what a successful,
What the stakes are.
Yeah, perfect way to put it. Yeah. Raise the pay to match the stakes, and you will attract a higher quality individual, and you'll get higher performance out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly like after your first one about the military service and how there's two different or different ways in which to serve, because not everybody's necessarily able-bodied, but there's ways to serve. That is what I'm thinking of when I'm, all of this is like, if that was in place and then everything else we're talking about was built off of that, that would change the world so freaking fast.
Yeah. And I also think that it wouldn't be, or I should say it would be a good idea to take public employees and just consider them one labor pool. So someone who qualifies as a police officer in their 20s, all right, you work as a police officer for 8 years, 10 years, you say, okay, you've hit your max time as police officer. We're transitioning you to teacher, or we're transitioning you to city council.
That's
or
a
we're
great idea.
you know what I mean? So you can only you remain in the whatever city of Everett system or Snohomish County system, but you have a max time in any one position, and then you have to go to another department within that public entity.
I just have a little pushback on that because I just hate the thought of telling people what to do.
Except
in that regard,
because it's a public entity and because it's taxpayer funded, it keeps anybody from getting too entrenched and too solidified in any one position, and then it increases the experience level of everybody who's serving the public. Yeah. So your public officials become more broadly experienced, and someone who is going to become like a city council member or a county commissioner, imagine if they had 8 years experience on the street. Now when they're making or they go to the homeless narcotics fucking drug or homeless task force, whatever they call it, homeless industrial complex that's soaking up all the money down in Seattle. Imagine if those people had 8 years of beat experience as police officers or as firemen EMT dealing with the overdoses, wading through the needles. You know what I mean? Like,
well, imagine if that was something that you had to qualify to be a governor.
Yeah, no shit, right? Instead of just private
idea.
school to private college, straight into the governor's office.
Yeah.
Completely unqualified to be a leader of people.
Yeah, I think take it from micro and macro. Take it something small as much as say this gym. And Jordan, you're a great wrestler. So what if Greg's like, well, I want you to lead the wrestling program in this gym for the next year. And then say you do it for the next year and all their kids get pretty good at wrestling. And it's like, Jordan, you've been a great asset. You work well with the kids. You teach them really well. But how about you team up with someone else and we work, I don't know, like half guard? And, well, okay, Jordan did good teaching all these kids wrestling. We're going to teach them a little extra half guard, and he's going to help teach these kids half guard, right? And then it's like, well, now we got this guy that's really good at wrestling, and now he's good at half guard, and we don't want to lose him, you know? So that same kind of idea of micro taking it here, I think that could work fantastic. Like you say, have a cop that works beat for 10 years. Listen, you did great with beat, and now you have all this understanding. But let's parallel or let's lateral you into a new position here and keep taking all that experience and that knowledge that you have and apply it to this new area. But also let's keep getting you better at what you do. I mean, like you said, I don't want to tell people what they can or can't do, but if we can foster growth for the system as a whole, I mean, I do get that, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
No, and I completely get it, but just the only pushback, like, you know, is freedom, you know, and that's, but to what you're saying,
But then
that's a better idea
Then exit the public system because you're not mandated to stay a public employee. If you want to leave and go do what you want to go do in the private world, go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say it's a complete, you are going from a beat cop, you did great, now we want you to go do work at the planning department. You know what I mean? Just because there's an open space and it's time for you to roll out of here.
Yeah.
At that point, it's kind of like, well, I mean, I guess we'll figure it out.
Figure it
You
out,
know?
but then it also eliminates corruption.
Yeah.
If you're a beat cop for 20 years, well, now you probably have accessibility to bribes, to payoffs, to knowing corruption. So if you constantly get lateraled around, I mean, I could see how it could stop
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely
gaming
true.
the system.
It is that term limit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's very good.
We're
point.
solving the world's problems, fellas. What do you got, Jordan?
I'm trying to think of.
You're thinking there.
What my other one was. I should have wrote them down like you. I know.
Mike shows up with Post-it notes.
Yeah.
You got one more on there, Kozak?
I got two more,
Oh,
but we
Jesus.
can
All
just
right.
do one. So my fourth one, no mass commercial farming, small independent farms.
I thought you were going to stop it at no masks. I was like, all right. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Monsanto needs to be fired into the sound out of the T-shirt cannon.
I think, yeah. And then not only that, but it's like, let's get health and education more into what everyone deals with commonly.
We do need like a complete revamp of the education system, and health is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, what, 50% of America's obese?
60.
Is it 60?
And we're headed toward 80 by 2030, I think.
I mean,
Well, they're
it's-
also saying that men won't be able to reproduce
Dude.
and by like 2040.
something I avoided my whole 20s. Now I'm sad about it, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's out of control. I
They
mean,
say like the latest Lucky Charms are more healthy than eggs.
yeah.
Shut the fuck. Like, do people actually believe? Somewhere out there is somebody who believes
Yeah,
that.
because
They're
just
like,
the
green
whole
light, I'm eating Lucky Charms every morning.
just food has gotten so disconnected to what people understand. I mean, I think we were talking on one of those podcasts about, you know, just like if you have grandparents and your grandparents were like, oh, I knew a farmer here, I'd get my produce here, I knew a meat guy here. Just having those simple relations and understanding what a good quality piece of meat that's raised well compared to one that's an animal that's starving or has disease and
Right.
stuff.
When you bought your meat by the half an animal rather than go get cellophane wrapped
Yes.
New York steaks or pork ribs or whatever, you actually bought half a cow.
Yes.
And then you got everything that came, you know what I mean? You got your shoulder roasts and all the,
Yeah.
everything that came with it rather
Yeah.
than walking into the grocery store and selecting the one cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only is it getting people in connection with their food, where their food comes from, what it takes, what you're putting in your body, but Just look at all the sickness that comes out of mass commercial farming. Avian flu, swine flu. I mean, we're just told that a cup of bat soup created the coronavirus. So it's like, listen, shouldn't we be more involved with the animals, the food, the process, the production? I mean, if you guys are so worried about these massive, not famines, but outbreaks of disease and stuff, I think
it all comes out of mass produced.
It's all
comes
mass
out of slaughterhouses
farming.
where it's mass
it's
produced.
all farming, mass commercial farming. We talked about brucellosis.
Yeah.
You have too many buffalo in one area because all the Indians died out from disease from the white man. Yeah. So let's just do that same model. Let's take all these animals and shove them into one giant slaughterhouse or 10 different giant slaughterhouses through the entire United States instead of giving farming a chance for local individuals, giving government relief to farmers. I mean, everyone has to eat. It should be the one thing we should all be like, let's take the most care of this
of the
thing.
shit we eat.
Yeah.
Interesting, like, when you think about, like, the happiest and healthiest places that I know of are out on the islands here, where people are having small farms.
Yeah.
And they have small communities, and they're it just seems to me like, and maybe it's just because I spend the day out there and driving around, and it's like, oh, look at this, it's pretty out here. It's relaxed, doesn't feel like it's overly crowded. There's a farm, and there's a farmer's market, and people are trading and buying and all this kind of stuff, and it seems like such a happy place and way to be. And it's like, if we could make that the entire country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
from small community farms.
The Industrial Revolution's only 120 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if we've just sort of fallen in love with mechanical technology and now electronic technology to the point where, again, because this is the era we live in, we just assume this is the way because it's always been the way in our lifetime. But it's almost like humanity's lost its path a little bit, at least in the United States, where we're just so determined to drive technology into everything, whether it's mechanical, combines and tractors, and like you said, mass farming.
Convenience, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, there's now it's like, oh, having a coffee pot that does the next newest thing.
Yeah.
But, like, then you go back and you look at, like, all this high-end fancy equipment that takes forever to make your cup of coffee because it's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a good way to do it. So, like, people who really get into it are like, oh, I'm doing this, like, pour over, like, crazy stuff, and it takes forever, and it becomes a ceremony for them, and it's a part of their day and a ritual that's like,
right.
I enjoy
ritual.
this because it is what brings me happiness in it product. And if we could do more of that with our life and get rid of all the minutia in between and realize that we don't need all of the crap that we think we need because everybody needs a Traeger or everybody needs a freaking Keurig. You know what I mean, to make that coffee. That's what I was. Keurigs. You know what I mean? But that's the thing is like everybody's like, oh, remember they came out and everybody was like, oh, these are so cool. You know, let's and it's just like we don't need all this crap. You know.
I think you're nailing it there with like people.
I do mean everybody needs a Traeger. That was a misspoken. Sorry.
They need a Traeger and a lesson from Jordan.
We will have a cooking episode because
I
do
wait.
everything in cast iron now.
Yeah.
I won't use a grill because all your fat drips down.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose. That's what I cook the next meal in. I can't.
That's the ritual, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say is that Thursday night Jen works late, and that's my night to cook, and so
the boys are stoked.
It's cheeseburger night, baby. Dad
that
makes
sounds pretty good.
Ass cheeseburgers, but there comes a point where I'm like pulling everything off the stove and it's on the plates, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sad that it's done.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy the process of cooking,
of doing something for yourself, and one of the things that sustain life. You enjoy it. Huh?
Well,
fuck.
It's a little
that
bit
thing you need to live. You enjoy. That's so
the thing
bizarre.
Is like people we have those the hierarchy thing that you were talking about, Pavlov's Pablo's.
Pablo.
Pablo's?
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Thank you, Maslow. That guy.
That guy.
Pablo. The artist. He made this pyramid.
He made this pyramid over
food
here.
pyramid. Yeah.
Lucky
anyway.
Charms and eggs.
But once those basic needs are met, you're looking for the next high, the next drip.
Yep.
But when you go back to it, going back to those basic things that I was telling you, having a sharp knife, it makes me so happy. It makes me more happy than my phone ever will.
That Grans Force Brook hatchet that I bought is...
he loves that thing. That Grans Force Brooks. One of the
I should
oldest...
start sleeping with it. Just put it in the bed between Jen and I.
The oldest Scandinavian, I think they're made in Sweden, hatchet companies there is. Grans Force Brooks.
Oh, it is. Okay,
it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest.
Dude, it's amazing. That thing was so sharp when it was new that you literally could have cleaned an animal with it, like taking the hatchet blade and started skinning hide,
just getting that hair off.
And you can split. It's a hatchet that you can split firewood with.
It's pretty small.
It's
it is a nice,
incredible.
Yeah, I thought that you wanted hatchets, or your boy's axe or whatever, not razor sharp, because the metal isn't strong enough to hold that edge, so it dulls really quick. But Tyler was like, absolutely not. Well, you don't want it blunt, but there's like a happy medium between. You want a convex edge that's going to have some meat behind
some strength to it.
Yeah. Strength to it, but because the Rockwell is a little bit, the durability on them is high because the Rockwell is less, so you're not getting chips and stuff out of them constantly. Yeah. So you want to have it not quite, but
would Tyler say?
He was like, no, you wanted it sharp as shit. And I was like, well, that's the guy to listen to, the blacksmith. I was over here like, I don't think you want them shaven sharp. And he was like,
Jordan's over here dulling axes.
You're an idiot.
Tyler is just
chopping rocks. This thing came too sharp.
Yeah.
You got to hit some rocks with it.
Yeah, let me take care of that. I mean, I've had axes that I shave my arm with just to see. It's like, no, that's shaving sharp, but I don't know how we got on this, but yeah, cool old world tools and ways of doing things. Like when it comes to a modern world, it turns into something where it's super satisfying and people really enjoy it. It's not like, I'm just throwing my my steak in the microwave. Check it out. God. I mean, at some point, that was probably something that people were like, can you cook a steak in there? Can you cook eggs in there? Can you put all these different things? It's making it so much faster. Look at how convenient and easy this is. Yeah. So I have time to go read a magazine about more bullshit that I don't need, and consume as opposed to taking your time to cook your coffee.
Yeah. And it does kind of seem like the pendulum is swinging back, and backyard farms are becoming more in vogue, and or maybe it's just our circle, but more and more people are starting to, put raised beds in their backyards and raise, backyard chickens or goats or whatever, and hunting is getting crazy popular.
Yeah.
So it does kind of seem like there's an awareness out there that these things are important, and it's knowledge that we need to not lose.
Yeah.
Well, I also think it's just something that just goes towards basic human happiness. I mean, I think you can honestly say, as a human, like, there's things you can do that just make you feel better. You have someone you're faithful to, and they show love towards you, and you show love towards them. It raises you as a human. It makes you happy to be wanted and to want someone and do those things. And I think food is a basic one. And what I kind of think when I start to go down this is, Jordan, you were saying, like, there's nothing more better than a vantage point from a far distance. And I've heard this argument before, too, like when you can see things. And if you look at paintings, if people do oil paintings, there is one particular type of painting that always intrigues everybody. And what it is you have a high vantage point, you have a water source, and you see animals. No matter who you are as a person, when you show people different paintings and you have one that fits all of those, or a picture that fits all of those, you'll get more people liking them because it hits a certain human reward mechanism. Something that you're supposed to see is water, land, and food. And I think something as basic as farming has all of those in it. So if you can take something so rewarding just in a picture and put it in a person's daily life, if you make farming and animals and the substance you eat more accessible to people, I think it has to be a more rewarding or a more enlightening or a more just, it's a better way. There are better ways to live. I mean, you want to do crack all day, or you want to read books and do bicep curls. One of those will probably make you feel better than the other.
One will make you feel better right now. The other will make you feel better 2 hours from now.
Yeah.
That's like the harder things are fun.
Yeah.
The harder the thing, the funner it is. Like, anybody can go get on a roller coaster and instantly feel that gratification.
Yeah.
But a roller coaster isn't fun.
But I think
in 10 years.
There's something about farming, though, in our DNA.
Yes.
That act of doing it
question.
has something in it that is good for us. Yeah. So to be on smaller,
same with hunting.
Yeah. So being on a smaller, more ascertainable level, there has to be something better for every human for smaller farming.
Putting your hand in dirt.
Yes.
Feels good.
Yes.
Look,
like this?
Exactly like that. Yeah, this guy.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah.
That's why this is not on YouTube.
Yeah, good gravy. Two in the...
Corn crops are ready. Thank God we don't have video.
Oh, good gravy.
It's a family show.
Yeah. Tell your kids. Yeah.
What were you saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
I fucked that up. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I get on these flows so easy.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I just know that there's something like the first
hands in dirt,
and you put a kid down, and like the first thing they're doing is grabbing dirt and being like, oh, there's something
also,
about it.
Look at the happiest kids. The happiest kids are filthy.
Yeah.
Whereas you get the helicopter mom who's got the Purell wipes and the hand sanitizer, and no, don't touch that, don't touch that. Those kids end up neurotic and kind of like
messed up,
fucked in the head.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just let your kid go play in the dirt and roll around in it and get filthy and eat it, they end up happy.
I was a dirtball kid. Have you guys ever seen me upset?
Wait, you?
No.
Yeah, look, I'm a product of my environment. Yeah. I'm a happy dirtball kid.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I was raised by high volt wires, so you know.
All right, starting to make sense.
Checking out.
Yeah. Starting to make sense.
High volt wires.
Yeah, exactly. You could hear it rain. Yeah.
That is a weird thing.
Dude, I saw a goose fly into him once.
Oh, no shit.
Well, it wasn't the high volt ones or the big telephone wire, but yeah, on the street, and he blew. It was crazy.
Blew up?
Yeah, so I was playing in this crack house and throwing rocks to the window like you do. Yeah. It was this weird little, this house in the middle of this field. They had a bunch of acreage, but over the top of it was just it was the pipeline basically. Yep. So all of a sudden I'm back there throwing, and I knew I shouldn't be back here doing this, but I'm a kid and there's windows to be broke, so I'm breaking them. And then all of a sudden an explosion happens, and my dad's buddy was over there, and he saw me go back over there, and it was a condemned house because all kinds of weird shit. So I'm back there doing this, and I come tearing off, running back behind this house, and it's like 100-yard driveway, right? And I'm running around from the back of the house through this big field to just oh my God, something blew up and it's gonna all go. And my dad's buddy comes running towards me, and then he sees me and he's like, okay, and kind of walks over, and then we look down the street and there's a goose smoking. And I went and picked it up, and you could see through from underneath its wing from its ass to underneath its wing, and there was a hole because it had got blown up in the power lines. Yeah, wild.
Damn, dude. Yeah.
Good times. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We were telling owl stories on one of the last episodes.
I guess that's true. Huh?
That's right.
My fourth one would be if you are not a U.S. company or U.S. citizen, you do not own U.S. land.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one.
That's a good one. I give you that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
and
yeah.
so that within that comes, more stewardship to public lands and keeping public lands open.
Also helps keep the price of housing lower.
And that keeps everything lower.
Because right now, and I'm not sure how many people are savvy to this, but BlackRock, the holding company, is buying up residential property like crazy, and so are Chinese investors. And that's one of the big reasons why housing prices on the West Coast are going so out of control. And I look at, like, we work with new journeymen who are in their late 20s, and they make $120,000 a year, and they can't afford to buy a house because the prices around here are just fucking insane.
If I didn't buy my house when I did, I wouldn't be living up here with you guys.
Yeah, and so if you guys look at what the downstream effect of that is, of a company like BlackRock just buying up residential property after residential property, because then it's going to turn into rental properties at some point. All that's left is rental property, and that's one of those paths to independent wealth for the middle class, is being able to own that little patch of property and let it sort of increase over the years.
Yeah.
And that is something that's being taken away from, like, my kids' generation, to where the only thing that will be left is I'll be passing my house down to one of them, and that will become the generational wealth.
Well, they're trying to do away with that right now too.
Are they really?
Yeah, because they did away with, was it a step up in value or something like that? So you bought your house at $100,000. Mm-hmm. By the time you pass it down to your kid, it's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
It used to be where you would have to, and this is, I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. You would have to, give your kid the house, it's worth $1 million. Say they sell it they don't keep it, they sell it.
Okay.
It's $1.1 million they sell it for.
Yeah.
They would have to pay tax on the $100,000 above what they got when they got it to when they sold it. They would have to pay the tax on that $100,000.
Oh shit.
That's what it used to be.
Yeah.
They did away with that now.
Oh, so they owe tax on the whole.
You owe tax on from when you bought it when
Yeah.
it was $100,000. So you owe $1 million in taxes, and I believe you need to pay that before you can take possession of the house.
Good grief.
So now you have to sell the house because who's got
BlackRock?
40%,
BlackRock can afford it.
40% tax
Yeah.
on that. Nobody's got $400,000. You can just, here you go.
Yeah. After my dad died, it took my mom, I think it took 2 years to pay all the taxes that they sent, all the fees for my dad dying. It's fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, even just like
One last tax before
one
you go.
last fuck you.
Jordan, you're the youngest here. Tobin and I are both 11, and how many people our age do you know that actually own a house? I mean, not like I have to pay my bank
paying
and
in a
stuff.
mortgage.
Yeah. But it's like, it is far more rare that you see someone in our age group that actually has a mortgage than people renting. I mean,
That it keeps me up at night.
yeah,
Because
it should.
Because it's like one little bobble, and it's like you're done, dude.
I'm fucked. Yeah.
You're done. You are now a renter forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And renting, I mean, dude, $2,000 isn't uncommon in this area for
Oh, dude.
a 2-bedroom apartment.
You're looking at a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
A studio apartment is $1,400.
If you want to rent a house, $2,800.
I was going to say
Yeah.
3,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's super scary to think, like, if work goes bad,
Yeah.
now I'm out of that, and I got to figure out a way to cover that mortgage. But there's obviously, you got to be creative, and you can't think about it and go, oh well, it was me. You got to get after
You got to
it,
make it work.
and then
but yeah.
because people do.
But it's harder and harder for just the average person to own.
Well, yeah. I mean, the prices are so high.
It's
And that's why you're seeing people live, young kids in their early to mid 20s living with their parents.
20s? How about 30s?
Oh,
or
yeah.
40s?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean but at the same time, that's how a lot of people moving into this country do it.
I mean, that's how
And
it's been forever in most countries.
and they do a good job with it.
Yeah.
It's multi-generational households that are making it work, and they buy that house off.
But the
and they
American
turn around and go buy another one.
But the American dream was not to be a multi-generational house. It was that every person could have the ability, which you still do, but it seems harder and harder, to be just a normal person and have a living wage for a family, for a house, for all this stuff.
Well, 20 years ago,
The dream has been pushed. What the American dream, I feel like, used to be is now pushed way back further.
Yeah, I read somewhere a meme that kind of struck me where it was like, remember the 80s when it was completely plausible that your dad could sell VCRs for a living and own his own house?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
That's-
that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, you're going to work at Best Buy and
Yeah.
have a fucking house? Good
Yeah.
luck.
Nope.
yeah, you better be the manager and have a roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 20 years ago, a $400,000 house was on the lake here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what you were looking at. If you a $400,000 house, are you kidding me?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's 20
Yeah.
years.
Now it's a quadrant home.
Yeah.
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 Oh no, I looked out here because of the property where we run the Training Northwest classes. I've been watching for places out this direction, and like 2 acres for if I think I set my price limit at like 600,000, and to get 2 acres under 600,000, you're looking at like a borderline not fit for human habitation single wide trailer.
Yeah. Just squalor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a scrape off, and you're gonna have to start anew.
Yeah. And there's additional costs because of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got to
know.
dispose of the trailer.
Yeah,
'cause
it'd
it's
be
probably
easier if you could buy the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can't. Now you're stuck with
Yeah.
dealing with that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so out of hand. And so, yeah, dictatorship, you ain't gonna buy here.
Yeah. No more BlackRock. That's right. That's right. No more Chinese investments,
Yeah.
and no more BlackRock buying up residential property. I agree with that one wholeheartedly.
Yep.
And then also, like, just as far as land goes, just not selling it off to cause big swaths of land, farmland, all of it.
Yeah.
We're making our wildland areas smaller and smaller,
Yeah.
and creating more and more access via road.
Yeah.
And
I think there should also be something along the lines of, if you're a giant tech company, you can't buy farmland. Like, sorry, you're not in that business. Like Bill Gates or whoever, you're in the business of computer software.
Yeah,
so
you don't-
you're not buying farmland, because that's not what you do.
yeah, if you wanna own farmland, go ahead
Yeah, get 20 acres and work
and
it.
go work it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do it for the next investment to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's legit.
Are we on our last one?
I think we're on our last one.
I've got one that I'll save till the end.
Let's take one quick break because it sounds like everyone's on their last one.
Yeah. Okay.
One quick break, and we'll come here and we'll dazzle the fans.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe
Mike-
not.
Well, razzle dazzle, boys.
We
Come on.
thought Mike threw out his best one on the first one. He's gonna,
he's like.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna turn heads on this lot. People are gonna hate me. I know it.
He's
Wait,
looking at me. He's like, yeah, let's gather our thoughts, Jordan. Let's go gather our thoughts. All right.
all right. We'll be back.
right back.
And we are back. What do you got, Kozak?
So this is number 5, then I guess, right? Everyone did 4.
I got a doozy as the final.
Ah, man, this is where people are gonna give me hate. I think that there should be a one world government.
God,
Get the
damn
fuck
it.
out.
Yes,
Are you
right?
fucking serious?
Yep.
This is literally like the opposition of my life is against
Yeah.
this fucking shit.
But we're gonna change it, right? Because I'm Mike Zedong, right?
Throw a beer at him.
Yeah. If I had any, I would.
No, so I'm going to run a one world government, but
To be fair, if I were in charge, I'd be fine with a one world government.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But I want to throw it to the people. I want to take the invention of the internet and kind of make that the voice of the people. I feel that part of the reason we're in the situation we are now is due to the ability to information. And so if you think about it, like when our country was...
Do you mean availability? Is that what you're talking? Availability of information or ability of information?
The ability of information just to communicate with people is just the main thing.
Got it. Okay.
If you think about when our country was founded, what was the mail carrier? Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo
Wells-
was the Stagecoach.
Stagecoach,
Express.
right. So think of that. So Wells Fargo back in the day was an armored stagecoach with a couple drunks, probably with rifles and guns.
Shotgun.
Coach shotgun. I
Yeah,
got one in my safe.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rad. Yeah.
So but what are they saying? They're like, hey man, if you give us a certain amount of money and this thing is important enough,
I'm gonna let you have shotgun, but only because I'm not going.
but if it's important enough, we will get this to where you want it with. We don't take breaks, right? Wasn't that part of Wells Fargo? Is we pretty much just run our horses?
Well, that's Pony Express.
Was that Pony Express?
Yeah, they would trade off horses like every 14 miles or something like that, so they could just keep going at a dead run.
Yes. Okay. So exactly. Okay. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm confused.
So they weren't pulling wagons.
Not pulling wagons, but what they were trying to do was get a message relayed, right? They're trying to get a message from point A to point B at the fastest amount of time. And back in the day, what was it?
Man,
Buy a pigeon.
Think about how.
Yes, buy a pigeon. That used to be the fastest way. But what does it matter? Like we just talked about that book last week about war. And we were saying a big thing that changed war from cavalry and those type of things was being able to have people relay information, send coordinates for bombing, send tanks to go to this place, send planes to go to this place. So if you think about that same thing and how that the exchange of information works so well for a functioning army, why would that have no difference for a functioning government, for a functioning group of people? The more I can communicate to you guys about what's happening, the better we're going to work, right?
Yes.
So we've kind of hit a period in time where we have instant ability to communicate. You could be in Pennsylvania and I could be here in Lake Stevens and I can send you a text. And within seconds, you know exactly what I text you, what I'm thinking, or what I'm calling.
Yeah, what my dick looks like.
I was just going to say.
There's a weird
dick
blemish.
pics, go to @Enlightened Neanderthals on Instagram, please.
So in that same thing, it's like, so we've reached this weird point in time where everyone has the ability to say, and we're supposed to be a democracy in this country, right? Technically, we're a democratic republic where we elect officials, but we do that because think about back in the day. Say you had some weird bill come up in your state.
I see where you're going with this.
Yes.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so say you have some weird bill come up in your state and you want to let the people know what's in this bill, right? Well, what does that take back in the day? Well, I'm going to have to get a stagecoach. I'm going to have to start a campaign. I'm going to have to start
outrun some Indians.
Yes. And those are the exact same things that happen today. We have all this mass communication. What are you going to do? I'm going to go through the Sun Belt, and I'm going to start talking to the elderly in this group and that group. So in that spirit, it's like, okay, so everything comes back to the people. I think we said a long time ago that the government is supposed to represent the people. And what are the people? The voice, right? So now we've come to this weird time and point in technology where everyone can almost communicate with each other instantly. And we use it in all our institutions. We use online for banking. We use online for everything, but voting You have to use a pen and I have to match signatures, or you have to go to this physical ballot box, right? So all of this is based to me off of representation. Like, I want to be represented off of what I say. What's your vote on this? Represent yourself. I say yay. I say nay. But what are you doing? You're representing yourself. We've come to a time and point in technology where everyone can represent themselves. So why aren't the people representing themselves as a government? Why can you not have a one world government where the government is the people talking? We have the ability, Phil. I mean, you have fucking Reddit, where people upvote or downvote what is a good idea.
Yeah.
Isn't that cream rises to the top,
actual
the thickest?
Representatives and senators could be obsolete. You can make them obsolete by allowing people to have a direct vote through through the Internet of Things.
And I think that's part of why social media is scary. Why things become fire. Greg's fucking video caught on fire overnight, right? Because he had a real message that people connected and said, this is good or this is bad. So if you could put that in the guise of voting or creating legislation, why can't the people with the best ideas that get voted upon go to the top?
Or just the best, just like you said, like Reddit. Why can't the best ideas just end up at the top of the forum?
Yes.
And we don't need a representative to vote for us anymore because your electronic device has a unique ID.
Yes.
And so
you got your IP address.
And the reality then would be like, yes, you might lose your iPhone or it might get stolen, but your vote comes from your device or through your IP address, which is unique to your house or to your service. And that's like, it just goes into a giant pool of votes.
Yeah.
And that becomes true democracy. Because instead of electoral college or, like we said, representatives that can then become, you vote for them, but then they get corrupted the next day.
Yes.
Now you're stuck with them for 4 years. You might be onto something with that the reason this information is so scary to the legacy system is that they're starting to see how they could possibly become completely obsolete to the system.
Yes, it represents instant emotion, instant representation of an individual. What we think of as just communication is it's you. It's what you want, your ideas. Just like this, we're talking bullshit, but these ideas are getting floated out there due to this.
You could literally have a real-time worldwide vote now.
Yes.
You would
yes.
you could see the results in real time.
You guys don't watch Dancing with the Stars?
I know, you're right. No, you're right.
Is that not what's happening? Like, don't they?
You're right.
Don't they do shit like
That's
that?
exactly what they do.
But that's what it is. I mean, didn't America vote for who their favorite star dancing is?
Favorite idol? I have no clue.
Yeah.
I don't watch that.
That is a wild thought. You could literally have a worldwide vote on one subject and watch the results in real time. And yet, how the fuck are we using the system that we are?
Yeah, but I mean, at some point, and this is where I,
We're in the weeds. Come on, Drew.
I don't.
You're welcome,
know,
Podcast America.
I don't know that you would want to have something like that because it's so fragile, right? Is it not? I don't know enough about computers to know how I could have.
I'm not saying
everybody's.
I'm not saying it's the best system. I'm just saying that it's possible right now today. That
Absolutely.
And
I could send a mass
but
text
it's fragile. But so is your bank account. You have the probably world shittiest, just like me, password, which is a suitcase
you use the same,
number
the same
and your first
for
pet.
Every fucking
Yeah.
thing. Every
we
single
all
account
do.
in your life. Yeah.
And that's what your lifeline. How you live is based on your money. Money is life, right? I mean,
resources.
yes, it's
And
life.
as Stanley would say, not resources, but resourcefulness.
Yes.
So,
But I mean, that's what it is. And you trust it so much that you expect all the numbers to be the same and everything. And you give all of this, you put all your faith into this one thing. Mm-hmm. But what if your faith was put into something much, not higher, but in the same aspect? We should treat it as something that should be respected, like banking or anything. It's your vote, it's your representation as a human being in the United States.
I think we in the United States are based on like Christian values.
Yeah, we're
Right.
Judeo-Christian, yeah.
Right? So we have those Judeo-Christian values that is the basis of our society. And what I believe is that beef is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yes,
when,
Jordan.
when you go to India and they go, beef is not good, you guys can't have it, there's going to be problems. And I'm just saying, like, obviously with different things, right? But like if the whole world, that we come from, so women shouldn't work. Women shouldn't, go out in public without their
Burkas on.
burkas on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so there's mindsets that are different from ours, and we're in different places. So for me to feel like I know what's going on over there, I don't want the world to be the same. I
Yeah.
want to be able to travel and have different flavors when I move around the country even. And it's kind of like we were talking about, styles are getting mixed together. Guys aren't dressing different than they are on the West Coast than they are the East Coast like they were in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Right? You could go to a different town and you'd see a different flavor of people. And it was just like, this is happening in this local area. And the internet is also making it to where all those little pockets are getting washed away. Right? So what's cool is whatever fucking Kanye West puts out. And it's not what's cool in that area because some kid had some style and he did this or that. Or like this kind of rap came from this area, or this kind of grunge rock came from this kind of area. And it changes the flavor. So like that kind of thing is going away. And if we did it on a world scale,
it all becomes homogenous.
then it all ends
Yeah,
up.
it's true. Culture is interesting, and if you lose that, but I don't know that a one world.
Here's what else.
Mike Tatership would.
Mike Zedong.
Mike Zedong. Yeah.
I
More
like
dick
that.
than tater.
That's not what I've heard.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, shit. But to push back, okay, so no, that's a very valid argument. And I would say to push back on that.
Yeah, how do you maintain culture with a one world government?
Yeah, but governments never created culture. The people.
But
No,
you're right,
a
you're right.
government.
Dictators have
No, a government can restrict your culture and say certain things like, "I think this is
It's-
taboo."
how much art do you
Is
see coming
culture-
out
hang on.
of the USSR?
Yeah, not a lot. But is culture created
No,
by
but you
the
do.
availability
You
of
do.
resources,
You
right?
see poets and you see people that aren't allowed to create paintings, but they create words and they create doctrine and they create stories about that repression. Every repression is going to have a form of art, and the people are what create the art. You show me one piece of art the government, besides Hunter Biden's son, has painted. Show me one fucking piece of art, but it is the people.
Well, the government creates nothing that anybody wants. You know what I mean? Or I should say, ostensibly, or
So in that-
theoretically, they should create something that we want, but they create very little that we want and very little that we need.
They create.
Do you want, when you say one, okay, maybe this is just what I'm thinking. When you say one world government, does that mean like one world, we are the world, I can travel wherever I want, however I want, whenever
Yes.
I want, but I am not going to be able to have a gun if people of the world say I shouldn't?
I mean, I think just like everything, you're going to have to restrict. You
have
know,
to have local districts.
yeah, you're going to have to
counties.
accept boundaries and what
Yeah.
certain people think.
Hell,
But
you could
in
probably
my
get 'em
view,
all the way down to 15-minute cities the way you guys are talking.
There's also a
but here's
there's
the
a command and control issue, because even though you have communication from Afghanistan to Seattle instantaneously, you don't have command and control, and that requires human presence.
yes.
And I don't even think you could do that with like a robot that's got a video camera and a microphone on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but you're not
Yeah,
going to
yes,
destroy cities. There's
commu-
still going to
well,
be...
no, but I mean if you actually wanted to have a one world government and do it successfully, you have to have a command presence everywhere, right? And that
little
doesn't come
bit.
that doesn't come from distribution of information over a smartphone. That comes from having effective leadership on the ground in those
or effective citizens that your people can step in.
but those someone will rise to become
Yes.
the sheriff of, you know what I mean, the county sheriff. Or,
I mean, you'll still have sheriffs and stuff, but it's like, to me, it's like, okay, we are so close to getting off this planet. Like, honestly, look at what
I'm calling Tyler.
no, but look at what we are, and give us another 2,000 years. I mean, honestly, what we've done in the last 150 years is miraculous by any accounts. You take any time frame where human beings, Homo sapiens, bipedal hominids have been upright and doing stuff. It's pretty amazing. And we are on this precipice. Like I said, physics has been dead for the last 80 years, but we learned electromagnetism, nuclear bonds. We're dealing with time, space, and gravity. We are so close to this precipice. And if we want to keep being better, we have to accept what we can physically do. We can't shame ourselves for being smart or enlightened or doing things. And if we want this to really be altruistic and go further, the earth is not a bunch of tribes. The earth is a group of human beings that has a chance in this cosmos to become more than we've ever been. So if you guys really want to do this stuff, I think it's like, listen, man, that's why Star Trek's
I
right.
can't stop laughing because Mike's going deep, and I'm looking at Jordan thinking, like, who's got to follow this? And Jordan's eyes are like,
All right.
listen, America,
Yeah.
we gave him marijuana at break, and you are fucking welcome.
You have one world
Take it away,
leader.
Kozak.
But that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to be great.
You don't think there's
And you have to you can't be repressed. You have to have the people doing it.
you don't think a little friction makes fire, you know?
Absolutely
so
it
you,
does.
So you,
But that's part of the
At what point
battle.
is the competition, you know?
Like our enemies, you mean competition?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we get up in the morning to try and...
We do have all these electronics out of an arms race.
I think so.
It's innovation, the most valuable thing.
And,
Yeah.
and
Your
what do
lives.
They say the first thing all civilizations learn to build is weapons.
But that's a human thing. I mean, you already know
Oh,
how
yeah.
to fight. I mean, you know how to, like, get away from me, scratch,
Yeah.
bite, those things. So those are inherent things. But you also know how not to fight. I mean, you could see a grizzly bear in the woods and be like, oh, he's a threat. I'm going to run up and kick him in the shin and try and fuck him up. But you also have the wherewithal to be like, hey, maybe this fight I should avoid and get my weapons stronger or my group stronger.
Yeah, but we would... I mean, at that point, like... I just had so much pride in, like, teams,
yeah.
right? Like, and it's what...
That's an important part of the human experience, is that small team
yeah, and
experience.
it makes...
It's intimate.
It is. And, like, I feel very special, and this is, you know, whatever. I feel very special to be one of the lucky people born in this country.
Yeah.
With all the crazy shit we got going on, I feel incredibly lucky. So, and I don't want to keep that experience from anybody. And obviously, if you want to leave your country and come here, like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And there's ways and avenues to do that.
Oh,
But-
no, it's the most American thing you can do is to immigrate legally
Oh, yeah.
and go to work for
Yeah,
yourself.
we're all immigrants.
That is what it's
Yeah, that's-
supposed to be.
And it's, yeah, so with that, it seems to me like if I was of, like, oh, just the world and all of the world, like, I'm representing District 12, you know, it's like that's what you would have to do, right?
You're representing District 12, but you're a person. You're a human. Like, okay, once again, macro, micro. Take the gym. You know? If this gym is growing, right? Mm-hmm. And we're like, we have this idea or philosophy, or we want people to train a certain way, come to this gym, and this gym is growing. And the more like-minded people we get here, the more it helps our cause. The more we're like, hey, we might get some shitty motherfuckers in here, and that's going to screw everything up. Yes, that is a possibility, absolutely.
But we have to think that our spirit of being better outweighs the negative people that might try and interfere from what our mission statement is. This is bigger than all of us. And that's what government is. We could just be tilling fields and small hunter-gatherer farmers, but we decided to create skyscrapers. We decided to create rocket ships, and we can't turn back. If we do turn back, fine, we do. But now we have to accept we're living in a stone age of from where we were. And for us, for humans, that bugs us. We know we can be better.
I love those knives, man.
Yeah.
It's that hatchet.
Absolutely. I mean, in an altruist, like super virtuous world where one person could make that happen and everybody could get on the same page and everybody could just say, hey, what can we do for everybody's life to be at this level minimum?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be here, and we will get you there regardless.
Yeah.
That if that was the way the world was, and we just had, there wouldn't need to be people working necessarily. If you didn't want to work, you wouldn't have to work.
You still need, but you need things.
Well, you
though.
do need things, but
So
it's
everyone-
competition
But you
that
have
makes
to
that.
you have
but
to contribute.
You still have to contribute. It's not like you can
Yeah.
be a piece of shit.
but
Yeah.
what about
If
the
you're
people
not
that are?
contributing to society, you go in the t-shirt cannon and feed the orcas.
Where do
Yeah.
you put the people who don't want to do anything?
I mean, they're
in
gonna.
the t-shirt cannon.
But that's what the bums are. Those are the people in our society currently that don't want to do anything. And once again, you're going to have those problems. Problems are never going to go away. You're always going to have highly competitive,
Oh,
driven
yeah.
people.
Rome must have had bums.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I think a bunch of
That's
them
wild.
wrote plays and stuff, right? I mean,
No, I mean, do you think they had people like living on the streets who were just begging for handouts?
Yeah.
first of all, there's
Absolutely.
olives and bread everywhere. The weather's pretty good. The aqueducts are bringing
Yeah.
water in.
Sandal weather every day.
yeah. Where did the Birkenstock come from?
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just
And this, I mean, it's got a lot of
It's-
holes in it. This has a lot of problems, but this is an idea I float around a lot and I think about.
is your thought to like, okay, we will all band together as a globe, and we will travel space.
I think it has to happen that way. That we're outgrowing this earth. I mean, it's just going to happen with how competitive and scientific we are.
Yeah, there's people who
It's like,
think that if
that's
an
my
alien
planet.
race were to come to this planet, you would see all humans immediately banned. Like,
We-
just like the United States was on September 12th, the entire world would become like that the day after there was an alien invasion.
Yeah.
Reagan gave it in a speech.
Was that okay? Is that
yeah,
where it came
that
from?
was Reagan. Yeah.
And I mean, that's absolutely true because now everybody just put on their different jersey.
Yeah.
I'm an American. But I have school pride from my high school,
Yeah.
right? I have school pride from my college.
He still wears his Leatherman's jacket or,
All the time.
Letterman's jacket to work.
Yeah.
Sad.
But that's it,
But,
though. Like,
but it has to go bigger and bigger and bigger.
But
you-
the aliens coming would rally the Earthlings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you always have to think, well, if something changed, like I was saying a while ago about disruptive technologies, if something came and it changed your whole viewpoint, like aliens coming, you'd have to be like, well, now I'm team people.
But
What's keeping us from team people?
what's keeping us from being controlled by somebody at the top? Or are you saying it would just be the internet?
That's why it's the people.
It's just the
It's
internet.
not elected officials. If everything was a vote, and this is where it gets weird too, because it's like, okay, say you're a true democracy. Well, what if 51% of the population was like, well, slavery kind of sounds nice. I got someone to clean my house and
Yeah.
do shit. You know, so like, how does that lead into things like that? Where like, what if it's actually not a good thing? So then you think about, okay, so what are things like your Bill of Rights, your Constitution, what isn't allowed? I've heard the Bill of Rights described as it's not what you're allowed to do, it's what you're not allowed to do in certain ways.
what
So
the
do you write a
government's not allowed to do.
doctrine and say this is what you follow, right? No matter what in the world, you can't repress certain people or for this or for that. I don't know. I
it would
fuck
be
around with these ideas, just mental masturbation, as I like to say. But
it would be an interesting exercise to write our own Bill of Rights.
oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the thought of it.
Yeah.
If nobody was at the top, and there was no group of people that were keeping up the internet or organizing these things, or there was no line of
So there will always be
fuckery.
keymasters, like the guy who keeps the tally of the vote or runs.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
The site administrator.
The last
Yeah.
person on the end of the line is the person
That's who you gotta
that's
worry
going to
about.
be doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So that just, we're going to have to kill that Mike Dictator.
Mike Zingdong.
Yeah, Mike Zangdong is getting it. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. It relaxes me. It feels good to go, what if everybody just wanted to take care of each other?
Yeah.
Because we have the ability to.
Yeah.
But that's just trusting.
So I would almost. So then you can make the complete counter argument that only small level government is available, like tribe level.
Yes.
To where then everybody just has to be responsible and, God damn it, what's the word I'm looking for? Accountable to the people in their close circle. Mm-hmm. And that's because I think that's more where accountability comes from, is not wanting to be in a position of shame with the people who are in your inner circle.
Yeah.
So this is I mean, the Christian values, right? So I imagine, and this comes from nowhere. I'm think about this stuff.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there were tribes, right? Before there was a group of Neanderthals or humans or whatever, and they would kind of roam around and find like food and whatever they could, but then they'd bump into other tribes sooner or later, and all of a sudden it's like, who the fuck are these people? Now we got to fight. So now you have inner wars between these tribes, and then they find another tribe, and kind of same thing happens. And go, oh, we kind of like these ones more, and da-da-da. And then all of a sudden, somebody came up with religion, or religion was, wherever it came from,
Yeah.
and it swooped over all these different tribes.
Yeah.
And it was the value of how you act and how you can behave within the tribe. But we're going to do it on a broader scale. So you don't kill people, you don't do these, this or that, or you don't murder people, rather. Like there's a set,
Like the Ten Commandments
value.
is
The
what
10
this group is
Commandments,
following.
and
Yeah.
now we're
100%.
now we're all in there and we're following these things. So now it's safe to travel throughout these tribes. Now you can kind of like, as long as you bought into that. If you don't buy into it, well, now we got a problem.
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that we don't have a problem? Well, we either kill those people or we just say, hey, I guess we disagree and walk away. Well, that ain't going to happen, right? And so when that stuff was happening, that ain't happening. So then after all that, they were like, well, we got to make cities. We got to make a government to support the fact that these guys don't want to follow these values.
You guys are hitting on like a pretty deep concept, which is that large level leadership is a top down affair, whereas the morality that the rules of society are built on are a bottom up affair, where your conduct day to day comes more from your kind of moral obligations to the people in your tight circle, whereas governance comes from like a top-down sort of perspective, and it's almost more run by fear. If you don't behave in the way that to from your bottom-up morality, then we have this sort of like overarching system of fear and punishment.
I can even combine the two of those into one.
Go.
I think you guys are missing one thing. So you said like you have all these groups of people and you band together, and it's like, oh, maybe you have this viewpoint instilled in you that I do, and we'll get along with this. It's like, okay, I can see how that works. And what Tobin's saying, like, it's like, well, it's a bottom-up thing. We're going to create these rules, and you guys have to fit into those. Well, think of money.
So, yes.
Think of, yes.
Yeah.
Think of like what a coin stamped back in the day. Say you're a Roman, right? And you had a Roman coin. Well, what does that coin mean? Well, that coin means I'm trading commerce and value in what this legal tender or this system is. But what does this also mean? Well, it means I abide by Roman rules. What do Roman rules mean? Well, maybe it means I don't murder people without just cause. Maybe it means I have values of bartering and buying. So you can take emotions as to what someone else believes and I believe, and then you can take things such as formatting people to live a way of life that you think they do. And those are two completely different things based off of separate things. Like this guy believes one thing, I believe something morality wise. Okay. But you combine money in it, well, now you're all under the same umbrella, right? Money's causing you to mimic
is the
values.
True backing of a currency the rest of the world's faith in that country.
Well, it's the
that's why the dollar, the US
what
dollar
the
is dropping.
fuck
right
are you
now,
gonna do with a gold coin? If I give you a gold coin, what are you guys gonna do
what
with
is
it?
the true value of precious metals?
There money's a fake thing, though. Yeah. That's what you have to realize.
But that's part of what it's
but resources, like we said earlier, it gets you things.
Yeah.
But it is fake. But by saying this one thing has value, what are we doing? That's a one world government. Well, you give me that money, I can give my children food, I can give my wife the dress she wants. It has all this aspects of life that pull us all into commonality, but it doesn't exist. But something as simple as money, now we can get along. All these things are just different ways of getting along. Say money didn't exist and we just bartered, right? Well, this guy gives me wheat and I give him meat and we get along. That's kind of a form of money. But now you put the fucking king's picture on a coin and you stamp it. Well, now we all get along for this one reason.
Well, but you're also putting faith in that king. You're saying that I believe that he is strong enough to control his whatever nation, government, empire, that this money will be worth something a year from now.
Yeah, you're believing in one person, this group, this tribe.
Yeah.
And that's what all this goes to. It's like, it's all tribalism at the end of the day. It's my group, your group. How does our group get along with this group? Yeah. It's like, motherfuckers, you're all hairless monkeys, except for one of us. But we're all hairless monkeys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what I was saying with those groups. And then once they have that value amongst them, if they have that value and it's high amongst them, then they don't need a government, right? But the more that value breaks down, or their values, how
not value.
Yes. How to behave and their morals and all that. When those things start breaking down, or that coin that they don't know how to trade amongst themselves or decide, well, my beef is worth more than your wheat, so you need to give me way more wheat than the beef because so well, your beef eats my wheat. Like how it ends up being this whole game. But when that thing starts breaking down, then you have the government above you taking care of that.
No. In my world, you don't.
Yeah, because that's interference with free commerce.
Yeah, that's the government saying it's one thing.
I'm also talking with the values, and I'm going back and forth with the values and
you're
the value.
fine.
But like your ethics my ethics disagree with his ethics. Now we have
But this is the okay, perfect. Because this is the beautiful point. Because
did you say porn?
Yeah, I mean, porn's beautiful too. Depends if it's amateur or production value. We got some screenshots. No, so I think it's good in that way because it's always going to evolve. The culture is going to evolve. The people are going to evolve. What you think is right and wrong is going to evolve. Remember when they were like, dude, if a girl wears a dress and she shows her ankles, she's a goddamn skank. And you're like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
And so society starts to change. It's not the government coming out and saying, hey, man, knees are pretty sexy. It's the people saying, no, I don't care if this woman shows a knee, she shows an ankle. You know, this is culture changing. And that's why I think it's important that if you want a one world government, the people have to own it, because people are going to change. Everything changes. Nothing stays consistent. You can have values and thoughts and tendencies that you base your principles off of, but life gets more complex. It never gets simpler. So it's always going to change. So if you have the people changing, right? Perfect. As soon as the government says change, that's where the badness happens. So if you have a one world government off of people, in my eyes, culture is going to change. It's part of the process, and what people think is the best way to be led, to lead, to do their things. But this is a growing process. Like I kept harping about technology, I think the way to govern people is a technology. You're figuring this out. And to figure out how to rule a group of people, it's not going to stay the same as day one as it is day 100. There has to be something better we're shooting for.
Yeah, I mean, when what I feel are my rights or what I think is right gets turned down by a majority vote of 51%. Now we have problems.
Yeah.
And that is like how do you manage that to where, you know, we say, all right, well, you guys get that half and we get this half and we're going to do this over here. You guys do that over there.
But
the
it was
stuff
like,
you don't like, you can kind of hang out on the border and bounce back and forth.
But like I was saying about Australia, you know, they had a mass shooting in the early 90s in like a coffee shop, and then they banished all guns, and they've never had another mass shooting. Okay, cool. For mass shootings, that works out really good. But you look at what happens when COVID happens and tyranny starts to happen and the people don't have a voice because they don't have a weapon to back it up with. Well, now that's a different issue. So all this stuff has to evolve. It's going to be sensitive. It has to be. But I just wonder, what is the best way to do it? Is it to lay it in the people or to have a great king that leads the people? That's kind of how I view all of that. Jesus Christ, that's my last one. I mean, we haven't even moved on to you guys.
God,
I feel like I'm hogging it here. But it's just, it's a complex one. Mental masturbation, guys.
I'm struggling to keep up with you.
Yeah, that's real good. I was gonna implement a fucking Taco Tuesday, but I guess
I was just thinking world peace.
yeah.
You got another one? I've got one last one. But
I mean, this is getting pretty long, huh? We're about 2 hours.
It don't matter, dude. The people love us.
All right. I guess I'm not going to talk my way out of this one, am I?
it's a one world government, but like a 14 listener podcast.
Yeah, we got you guys.
Dude, I did like that original 14 once I understood what it was.
No,
yeah,
that
I was like,
awesome.
that's actually kind of cool.
That was Ben who sent that T-shirt, right?
I
Ben,
believe so. Yeah.
Shout out, Ben.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Original
was,
14.
He's one of the Guns and Geese guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's
nice.
he's rolled up here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's genius.
Fuck yeah, Ben. We love you.
All right, what do you got, Jordan?
Go ahead, Tobin.
I'm going to end it right here. The fifth and final thing I am doing as Dictator of the United States of America.
Yes, sir.
2 chicks at the same time. Thank you. Good night. We love you all.